guys are getting me so excited. We're not even doing intros. We're jumping straight into the ending. All right. Today is a big, monumental day. A few of you people have been chirping that this is like top 3 endings. I'm gonna try and set my expectations right now. So far, the volumes have gotten better. 1 is good. 2 got better. 3 is so far from what you guys have seen me and how the way I've acted. Volume 3 is so far my favorite volume. Now, is the ending gonna be my new favorite volume? We'll find out. But we are at chapter 722. Almost messed up our intro. If you like what you guys are going to see, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. After today, we probably won't be reading anything for volume 4 until after we watch the Dunkle, depending on time. But I'm excited. So if you guys are ready, Lord of the Mysteries, volume 3 finale, 722. I'm a little excited. Just a little bit. I'm just a little bit excited. All right, now we're gonna read TLOM, the Lord of Mysteries. An unpeaceful night. No, that's I just stirred up an unpeaceful night with that acronym. I apologize, my bad. An unpeaceful night. A silver coin viper odor. How's the audio? You know what? Let me adjust just a smidge right away. As silver coin viper odor was an empire, there were all kinds of rumors about him, most of which could hardly be verified. Klein retracted his gaze from the staircase and walked to the bar counter. He found a seat at the counter tap and wow, already bad start. He found a seat at the counter and tapped it. A cup was Arhar. This was a locally produced malt beer. It was a lot cheaper than Southall beer that needed to be shipped from the northern continent. 3 pence. The bartender recovered from his silent state as he picked up an overturned cup. The crowd in the bar began to break out into whispers as they all were illuminated by the gas wall lamps. All of them were discussing the reason for the silver coin viper others' purchase of 10 tickets. We'll just say LM for short. He's definitely being pursued by someone. 10 tickets among 3 ships is clearly to prevent his pursuers from knowing which ship they boarded. A gang member with sleeves rolled up, revealing his tattoos, shared his view based on his experience from evading capture twice. An adventurer drinking Lanty-proof scoofed? You don't understand, oh dear. If his plan was that simple, he wouldn't have the title of Silver Coin Viper. I dare be that he won't be on any of those liners for the 10 tickets. Oh, so he probably bought all those liners. He's not even going to be on one of them. Okay, that's pretty smart. The only thing I can confirm is that they're heading to Pritz Harbor. Another adventurer shook his head when he heard that. Perhaps news of him heading to Pritz Harbor is fake as well. The gang member from before was taken aback from what he heard, refusing to be one-upped, he said. According to your descriptions, Oder has likely thought of what you figured out. That's precisely what he's heading to Pritz Harbor and will be one of those of the 3 ships. The 2 adventurers were about to retort him, but they decided that there were quite a non-zero chance of that happening after some careful thought. Momentarily, none of them said a word. This made the gang member extremely happy as he downed the rest of his liquor. Klein was holding a cup of Zahar as he sipped it while listening to the conversation. He was waiting for the fake identification and tickets he needed. There's another 45 minutes. I hope nothing happens. Don't make the bar into a mess. He silently prayed as he drew the crimson moon inwardly. The light yellow beer slowly dropped in volume while Klein would look at the wall clock from time to time or the entrance, hoping that the time would pass faster. Half an hour later, the door to the bar was suddenly opened with a loud thud and the evening wind gushed in. No way, the corners of Klein's lips twitched as he held back his urge to smile wearily. He turned his body to look at the sound. Standing by the floor were 5 people. Do we know them? Their leaders had black hair and brown eyes with recessed facial features and facial contours. He looked low and looked like to be in his early 40s. His expression... Who do we know that has that? His expression was cold and he exuded a natural air of dominance. It made everything in the bar quiet. It made everyone in the bar quieten. Google Translate just one time to stream.
It made everyone in the bar quieten down.
Quieten down. Just quiet down without realizing. And 3 men and women behind him were in trench coats. They didn't hide the fact that they were holding revolvers and they're holding guns. Okay, is it a fight? They didn't hide the fact that they were holding revolvers and they would instantly aim and shoot if there was any slight of abnormalities. I don't know them. They aren't on any of the wanted lists or have any bounties on them. Klein bubbled to himself as he maintained a state of spectator. The 5 intruders suddenly scattered as they came before different customers bent their backs slightly and looked at them before asking, they're trying to find them. Where is Silver Coin Viper? The customers Okay, so they are trying to find him. The customers were hesitant to give an answer when they saw the black muzzle pointed at them, along with a handle made of ivory and ebony, which exuded a strange sense of beauty under his lights. They went to the second floor. The customers who had asked nearly point to the staircase in unison. Something is really pursuing Odir. This is an act against Queen Mystic, or has Silvercoin Viper done something himself? Or could it be because of the mysterious hooded man beside him was eating sweets? Klein drank another mouthful of beer and he saw the intruder sent 4 people to the second floor. One was left behind to continue questioning the customers. Soon the latter grasped the situation of Odir's request to purchase tickets from Daniil. Immediately the person walked straight to the thin and dark-skinned black marketer, and he asked in a heavy voice, "Tell me honestly, where's Odir heading with those tickets?" Daniil didn't put on the front just because of his social connections. He forced a smile and said he didn't make it clear. He requested for 10 tickets are to be distributed across 3 different ships. The departure date is set for tomorrow, with the destination being Prince Harbor for reals. The questionnaire was a seemingly radical man in his 20s. Daniil softly replied, "You can ask anyone here." All of them heard it. Dog shit. The man shoved Daniil angrily as he... I see where the vocabulary comes from. Dog shit. For a second, I thought it was the nits. The man shoved Daniil angrily as he turned to walk towards the other customers. Daniil staggered backwards and was all about to fall to his head onto the sides of the tiny circular table when he suddenly felt an additional force on his shoulder. Instantly, he regained his balance. He subconsciously looked over and saw that it was a customer who had requested to purchase a fake identity and scalp tickets. "Thank you, those bunch of military hyenas." Daniil first thanked him before softly saying as he clenched his teeth. The person who had helped him was Klein. He didn't wish for anything to happen to his ticket scalper. After all, he had paid a deposit of £5. Of course, helping the innocent was also a habit of his. Military hyenas. In Bayam, this description often refers to the people of MI9. What did Silvercoin Viper Odir do? Klein silently asked himself as he eliminated the possibility that someone was targeting Queen Mystic. To the low-end military, it was meaningless. As he was walking, the MI9 members who were headed up to the second floor rushed down. As he ran, they said to their partners, "He has long fled through the window." The group of people came and left. Oh, I got lost. The group of people came and left in a rush. Some of the bar resumed in its usual din, but they still gently wobbled main door, provided that it wasn't as calm as earlier. Klein's wait for his fake identification documents and scalp tickets paid off. He didn't need to worry about any possibility of interruptions. After paying the remaining £15, he left Seaweed Bar and he returned to the ordinary inn and he stayed out. I thought it said John Yoda. It's not Yoda. Okay, John Yodi. This name is way too simple, isn't it? Before I return to Backland, I need to make a more realistic identification document. Klein flipped through the series identification documents before throwing them inside his suitcase. This music does not fit right now. That does not fit. He took a bath and relaxed, prepared to leave Bayam tomorrow, and began the last stage of his sea travels. It's the end. John Skywalker. The last stage of his sea travels. At this moment, he heard knocking at the door. Who is it? Klein. You know what's funny? In retrospect, I think it'd be funny if like Rizal started naming people like, "Oh, you'll be Anakin," or "Oh, you'll be like," I don't know, like character names from like famous literature, right? You know, I think that'd be funny. That would have been pretty funny if you run into like, I don't know, like Queen Elizabeth, you know, or like something like that. I'd like just funny similar names from like history. Who is it? Klein hurriedly took off his bathrobe, wore his clothes and pants, and walked to the door. Outside were a few policemen in black. One of them looked Loanese, while the rest were either mixed bloods or pure natives. "What's the matter?" Klein asked, puzzled. "Please show us some identification." A mixed blood said politely, since the gentleman in front of him was apparently Loanese. "Thankfully, I just made one. Otherwise, I'll be spending the night at the police station, or I'll have to flee on the spot, change my looks, and redo everything." Klein mumbled as he returned to his room and took out the identification documents. The Loan police officer casually flipped through it, and he said, "Mr. Yodi, are you living alone?" "Yes, everyone in the inn can vouch for me," Klein replied frankly. The Loanese police officer revealed a smile and said, "Have you seen this person before?" Maybe. As he spoke, a constable beside him unfolded a portrait. It was an elder who was abnormally thin with white messy hair. Apart from that, nothing stood out. No, Klein shook his head. "He likes to eat sweets," the Loanese police officer added. "Sweets? What would that be referencing to?" Klein suddenly recalled the mysterious hooded man behind Silvercoin Viper Odir. He had been eating plenty of coffee-colored sweets in a short period of time. After a short deliberation, Klein said without hiding anything, "Perhaps back when I was in the Seaweed Bar, I saw a man who loved to eat sweets and was following the Silvercoin Viper Odir." The Loanese officer didn't hide his disappointment. After simple words of thanks, he ended the questioning. Only after he knocked on the other guest room did Klein close the wooden door and return to the reclining chair. O'Dear's matters had not only attracted MI9, but also had gotten the governor's general offices to send manpower to a city-wide search. This is quite something, he muttered, and he decided to head above the gray fog to browse through the prayer points of lights around the Sea God Scepter. He could gain more information from his prayer believers in Bayam. He didn't wish to end up embroiled in a massive maelstrom from giving a wrong response. After entering the bathroom, he went above the gray fog where he summoned the white-bone scepter from the junk pile. Swirling around it were countless points of lights. As he browsed through each point of light, he determined the questioning wasn't on a small scale. The target was O'Dear and the mysterious men, but he couldn't figure out anything else. After some thought, he cast his gaze on a point of light that had been specially marked out by godhood. It belonged to a mixed-blood policeman named Bolaya. He claimed to have swallowed humiliation by changing his face to the Lord of Storms from the sea god so as to climb up the police ranks. He was already a superintendent. Thanks to Klein, cast the sea god's will into the corresponding point of light. Bolaya, who was in the police station assigned work to a subordinate, suddenly broke out into a cold sweat. He hurriedly found an excuse to enter the washroom as he silently prayed. Blessed of the sea and the spirit world, the great Kavatua, your pious believer has something to report to you. The person we are specifically searching for tonight is a very thin elder. His hair is completely white, but he has luxuriant hair. It must be nice. It's just very messy. He's very afraid of the cold, and he wears thick clothing even in Bayam. He loves to eat sweets as though he is a steam engine himself, and sweets are highly qualified coal. The higher-ups have informed us to find him, but not to harm him. Klein ignored Bolaya and reined his thoughts back as he tapped the side of the long table. Compared to the portrait, such a description gives me a sense of familiarity. It's like I've heard of it somewhere in the past. To a seer, a sense of familiarity means a clue. Hence, Klein wrote a divination statement and began questioning his spirituality. As he chanted the statement, he leaned back into his chair. He fell asleep with the aid of cognition. And the gray and dark world, Klein found himself back in Backland, back in 15 Mink Street, which he previously rented. In front of him was a red-eyed Ian, the teenage boy looked up and said, Terani von Helmosin? The greatest scientist after... Oh, the second greatest scientist. Okay, Terani. The greatest scientist after Emperor... I remember that was mentioned early on in this volume. The greatest scientist after Emperor Rizal, a mathematician, Oh, no, this was mentioned in volume 2. After Rizal, a mathematician, and Oh, would this be the third beyond... the third person that transmigrated? Yo, thank you for the plug, OG. Everyone like, comment, subscribe. Thank you, guys. A mathematician and mechanicus and the father of the second generation difference engine. Suddenly, Klein woke up and he knew who MI9 was looking for. Oh, they were fighting him! They were fighting the great scientist who caused many deaths between the Lowen military and the Interspy organization solely because of the third generation difference engine. They were fighting the science freak who had mysteriously disappeared for years. It was no wonder Admiral Blood Intelligence Officer Old Quinn had a modified radio transceiver that I don't remember that. Old Quinn had a modified radio transceiver that surpassed those in Backland. Klein was instantly enlightened. Oh, next chapter. The plot thickens. The plot thickens indeed, dude. But chapter 723, another good deed today. After a moment of his mind going adrift, Klein rubbed his temples and slowly composed himself. He discovered that the matter had little to do with him. He wasn't motivated to participate in the matter. He was apathetic to whether the Lowen military found Ternani von Helmoswin because he lacked a sense of belonging to the Lowen kingdom. What he had done in the past was solely to ensure a stable society and that its citizens wouldn't suffer any accidental damage. If possible, he didn't mind instigating a revolution to allow the poor to lead better lives. I never expected myself to become more of an internationalist after coming to this world. He gave a self-deprecating laugh as he prepared to return to the real world and have some sleep. Under the cloak of darkness, he would allow the tempest outside to freely unleash its mind. At this moment, his attention was caught by the biggest item in the junk pile through the corners of his eyes, the radio transceiver. Oh, whilst closing in soon? Okay. When someone knocks on Klein's door, bet. Alright, second we hear knocking, we'll switch. I never expected myself to become more of an internationalist after coming to this world. He gave a self-deprecating laugh as she prepared to return to real world and have some sleep. Under the cloak of darkness, he would allow the tempest outside to freely unleash its might. At this moment, his attention was caught by the biggest item, the junk pile through the corner of his eyes, the radio transceiver. Speaking of which, what is the faction controlling Terney von Helmoswin? It's nothing much of its people from the Queen Mystic Bernadette side. She's a strong believer of do as you wish, but do no harm. So she wouldn't do anything overboard. It wouldn't be good if if it's the rose school of thought represented by Admiral Blood, ignoring the temperance faction that's being suppressed, as believers of the chain god or mother tree of desire, their level of vileness can't be lower than the Aurora Order. Letting them grasp the most advanced technology available might bring about a disaster. Klein stopped his actions, wrapped his body with his spirituality. He gently tapped the edge of the model table. He soon had an idea, which was to bring the radio transceiver back to the real world, adjust it to the correct frequency to see if he could receive telegrams from Admiral Blood's crew. Then he could use the code back he had to decipher the communications. There would be a huge sweep on the city tonight. The matter must be at a rather important and intricate point. If one's controlling helm are them, there's a possibility of them appearing of crucial telegram exchanges. In a situation in which the Governor General Office, the Lowen military, and the Church of Storms haven't placed importance or even accepted this technology, this is the safest method. Therefore, Admiral Blood and company have a non-zero chance that they wouldn't change the frequency and codes after old Quinn's death. Anyways, I'll just give it a try. After some deliberation, Klein didn't delay as he returned to the real world and busily prepared a bestowment ritual. After bringing the radio transceiver into his room, he didn't immediately use it. Instead, he used a ritual dagger and created a wall of spirituality to seal the room. He was doing it to air out the Grey Fox smell. To him, there was actually no need to go through so much trouble to confirm the faction that controlled Helmoswin. He could use the Grey Fox orb to contact a Rhodes and receive the answer, but the problem was that he had to possess the questions recently, and the smell that frequently appeared might incur the notice of evil gods like the true creator of the is the primordial god. That primordial god is the true creator going to come back in volume 3? Or primordial demoness. It was extremely dangerous. Therefore, Klein decided to play safe by relying on himself. After about 8 minutes, when the airing was almost complete, he dispelled the wall of spirituality and controlled the radio transceiver to begin his surveillance. After a known period of time, the corresponding frequency received the transmission. Klein held back the joy in his heart and he seriously made notes. Then he flipped through the code book, which he had replicated using divination, and began the necessary deciphering process. True creator is not evil, trust me. Soon he wrote down on a line on the note, 32 Black Pepper Avenue, 7 a.m. tomorrow. Indeed, the people in control of the helms are Admiral Blood and company. There might be... Are we going to fight him? And then he becomes the marionette? There might be powerhouses from the Rose School of Thought involved. Klein immediately made a judgment. This wasn't confirmed based on the content of the telegram, but a simple inference from the existence of the telegram itself. If Admiral Blood and company were uninvolved, it was unlikely for them to send and receive telegrams involving Bayham Street. The meaning of this telegram is to gather 32 Black Pepper Street tomorrow before 7 a.m. Does it mean that Helmswine and Silvercoin Viper O'Dear are hiding there, and they're reporting to Admiral Blood of their location and given a corresponding time? Klein thought for a moment and immediately returned above the gray fog with the intel he had just received. He wrote the divination statement, Tirani von Helm... I cannot say this word. No, it's okay. We've only read a chapter so far. We're in our second chapter. Tarami von Helmosween's present location. With the paper in hand, he leaned back in his chair and chanted the statement in a raving-like manner as he entered a dream of cognition. In the gray hazy world, he saw an underground hall with countless gas wall lamps. Inside the hall was a massive, complicated machine. It was constructed from the copper cylinders. The music is a little loud. Hold up, let me lower it. It was constructed from copper cylinders, operating levers, taking up levers, and countless gears. It took up nearly 2/3 of the space. A thin elder with grizzled, disheveled hair wore a thick coat as he placed in front of the machine. From time to time, he would pop a sweet into his mouth and munch on it noisily. No, it shouldn't be called a difference machine. It's an adorable fellow who can analyze questions and calculate the answer based on a set of procedures, like a computer. Yes, its name should be a calculator. The elder kept muttering to himself as Klein's vision was pulled away. Yes, it should be a calculator. Maybe he didn't transmigrate, because it sounds like he's like, yes, we should call it this, rather than like, oh yeah, Badoon. I don't know what I mispronounced. Oh, his name, yeah. The elder kept muttering to himself as Klein's vision was pulled upwards and out of the underground hall, arriving at the building above. It was a 3-story villa with a garden and lawn. Outside it was the address in the reds, 32 Black Pepper Avenue. He really is here. Klein opened his eyes as he silently exhaled. Then he was stumped about what to do next. A scientist like him is useless to me. Instead, it's the root of many problems. I can't just keep him above the gray fog. Therefore, there's no need for me to personally get involved and take him away. Hand over the news to the Lowen military of the Church of Storms. This will effectively prevent the Rose School of Thought from obtaining any benefits. But there's a faction of the military that's likely related to the true culprit behind the great smog of Backland. So, now we're going to be like directly in contact, or confronting the people that were behind the Great Smog of Volume 2. Okay, it's not good things to have Helmswain fall into their hands. The Church of Storms is well known for being rash. A conflict might end up with a scientist meeting the deity he believes in. After some careful deliberation, he gradually had a bold idea. It was to make the news public. He would make the existence and location of Tyranny von Helmsman known to the Lowen Kingdom's military and the churches. This could effectively ensure that the scientist's capabilities would be employed by the Lowen Kingdom himself and not by any other faction. The key is balance. Klein smiled as he muttered. He then beckoned with his hand from the Sea God Scepter. For the former him, he had to carefully distribute filters across the city to make a matter public and known to all, but now he had an even simpler and effective method. He selected a believer who happened to be praying, and then he pulled his view back as the surrounding and spanning the 5 kilometers entered his vision. Then with the Sea God Scepter, he wielded control of the wind. Once the wind calmed down, Klein... It's crazy how he can just do this now with the Sea God Scepter. Once the wind calmed down, Klein will sink into the scene as he changed his voice, saying with a low roar, Helmsman is at 32 Black Pepper Avenue, whoosh. And bam, the howl of the wind turned intense as it swept in every direction, bringing with it deep and loud voice. Oh my, how do I say his name? Because I don't want to say it wrong the whole stream.
Helmsman is at 32
Helmsman.
Black
Helmsman is at 32 Black Pepper Avenue. Helmsman is at 32 Black Pepper Avenue. Okay, now we're getting a scene change. This voice soon spread across Bayam like a broadcast to entire city. Silvercone Viper Deer was donning a cloak, pretending to be Helmsman. He hid himself in a crowd building and the slums, occasionally appearing to mislead MI9 and the Governor General Office's police officers. Suddenly, a gale swept past him as a voice sounded in his ears. Helmsman is at 32 Black Pepper Avenue. What? As the voice resounded... I'm seeing a lot of eyes today. As the voice resounded, O'Dear fell into a dazed shock. Without noticing it, he fell from the top of the roof and nearly injured himself badly. Behind the Cathedral of Waves and the small nearby building, the Governor General Office, John Coatman and Robert... We haven't seen them in a while. John Coatman and Robert Davis heard the voice in the wind. The first reaction they had was to look up at the sky before casting their eyes towards the borough where Black Pepper Avenue was. No, yeah, when we hear knocking on the door, right? Snitch Klein. He fucking snitching, dude. After the broadcast and being in a good mood, Klein threw the Sea God Scepter. He's feeling in a good mood, and we're getting walls closing in ready. Klein threw the Sea God Scepter back into the junk pile and returned to the real world. He wasn't in a rush to bring the radio transceiver back above the gray fog. Instead, he left it in there and continued monitoring the transmissions. This way, even if there are powerhouses from the Rose School of Thought hidden in Bayam, this wouldn't dare appear. And regardless who takes action, they'll have no choice but to hand it over to the country. Unfortunately, I don't have the habit of writing a diary like the Emperor. Otherwise, I could write something like I did another good deed today. Klein silently sighed, took off his coat, got into bed and slept. He didn't care what was going to happen next, as if it had nothing to do with him. After sleeping for an unknown period of time, he suddenly woke up and sat up. There was knocking on his door. Okay, we're going to continue from right here again. Then there was knocking on his door. Who could it be? The knock in the middle of the night. I'm currently John Yodi. Klein wore the creeping hunger and took out Death Nail from under his pillow before coming to the door. Who is it? The visitor's look quickly surfaced in his mind. It was a thin elder. It's the guy? It was a thin elder with grizzled, disheveled hair. He was wearing a coat stuffed with a cotton and a tweed overcoat. He was popping a coffee cold sweet in his mouth. Ternani von Helmswain. Holy fuck, why is he here looking for me? Holy fuck, dude. Holy fuck, why is he here looking for me? I'm just an ordinary John Yodi. Also, how did he escape the tracking of a demigod? Klein's first reaction was to tell the man that he had gotten the wrong person, but he held back and asked, "Who are you looking for?" Helmsman smiled and weakly said, "I noticed you when you were in Seaweed Bar. However, I didn't have a chance to talk to you. My life is at its end, so I recently recalled many things. Please allow me to introduce myself. You can call me Orange Light Hilarion. Orange Light Hilarion." Oh my god, what the fuck? It's one of the 7 pure lights. Oh shit! Of course it makes sense. The 7 pure lights would reincarnate as like one of like... They would reincarnate as like... No, they would have like a human manifestation of an important like human figure. Okay, so he's orange light. So now we have yellow light, red light, and orange light? Or is it white light? I think it was yellow, red, and now we have orange. Orange Light Hilarion. Klein was taken aback before he asked in puzzlement, "Is there something?" Helmsman chuckled, "I'm here to warn you. Be careful of the mother..." How the fuck? Oh, no. Oh, why are we going back with the mother tree, dude? "I'm here to warn you. Be careful of the mother tree of desire." He paused for a moment before saying, "All right, I need to leave. I'm about to die before returning to the spirit world. Do you have any enemies here?" "Why do you ask?" Klein asked, confused. Helmsman Coffin said, I can silently die at their doorstep. This way you would... That way you would have your revenge. What? Wait, what does that mean? What does that... What does that even mean? Hold up, let's keep reading. Oh, hold up, let's keep reading. Let's keep reading, and then, like, I feel like I'm speculating too much. But let's keep reading. Let's see exactly why. Chapter 724, the true meaning behind the warning. Upon hearing Helmsman's reply, Klein couldn't help but twitch the corners of his lips. He nearly froze on the spot. My enemies aren't in Bayam. Even if you were to die at Sea King's doorsteps, it wouldn't be of much use. He slowly drew a breath and didn't continue the topic. Instead, he asked Homan, no, Mr. Hilarion, how did you notice me? You even came here before your death to specifically warn me. There was also the puzzlement he had towards Rhodes and Renette. He just never had a chance to ask them. With a door in between them, it's crazy, dude. There are so many, like... There are so many, like, important, like, mythical enemies. Not like, beings that are drawn to Klein. Which, like, there's no shot Klein isn't, like, the original creator, bro. Like, there's no shot. And, like, we know, like, how, like, a person of a higher pathway is, like, innately drawn to people of, like, a lower sequence, right? Or, like, the whole law of convergence. Like, and, like, the fact that you're getting all these different beings being drawn to Klein, or Klein coincidentally coming into contact, like, it all has to do with the whole law of beyond convergence, right? Let Easy Geeky read. He will have his answer. Oh, okay, I'll keep reading. But just, I find it crazy how, like, all these beings are, like, drawn to Klein, or even, like, the angel smiling. Read Easy. Okay, I find it so wild, dude. This was also the puzzling he had towards Rhodes and Renette. He just never had a chance to ask him. With a door in between them, Helmsman fell silent for 2 seconds. Then he said with a smile in his tone, there are some tiny unique traits about you. Okay, hold up. It's right here. Wait, hold up. It's the gray fog, right? There are some tiny unique traits about you and high-level creatures of the spirit world. It's no secret. It's no noticeable as long as they make contact with you in close proximity. Ah, that's why Renette wanted to be his messenger. After all, the gray fog that represents the great ruler of the spirit world is above our heads, which is and I remember the 7 pure lights are above the spirit world, so they're even above him. Deities with certain unique authorities or beyonders who represent fate can also discover this point to a certain extent. Of course, the premise is that close contact has to be made. Gray fog, although Orange Light's explanation and Rhodes' compliments are nearly identical, he is the first person I've met that directly pointed out the gray fog to my face. Therefore, the mysterious space is the divine kingdom above the spirit world left behind by the great ruler. Holy shit, dude. What the fuck? What the fuck? It was just speculation. Wait, what the fuck? What? Left behind by the great ruler. Which sequence 0 pathway is this? Oh, shit, dude. It's here. Which sequence 0 pathway is this? The deities who can discover then I am augmented by the great fog included Mother Tree of Desire, so she was able to target me. Klein's thought bubbled like boiling water and all sorts of questions propped in his mind. Just as he was about to speak, Helmsman had continued. In Yellow Light's prophecy, the great ruler In Yellow Light's prophecy, the great ruler above the spirit world is one of the variables. What the fuck? Klein is one of the variables of the apocalypse. However, I cannot... He just wants to go home. How? What the fuck is this series gonna turn into, dude? Holy shit. Were we not talking about last stream how this series can, like, literally go everywhere? I'm sorry. Are we gonna... Is, like, volume 8 gonna be, like, in the apocalypse? Oh shit, we're locking in. Hold up. We're gonna lock in after I find my fucking place. Which sequence 0 pathway is this? The deities who can discover that I'm augmented by the great fog included the Mother Tree of Desire. So she was able to target me. Klein's thoughts bubbled like boiling water and all sorts of questions popped into his head. Just as he was about to speak, Helmsman had continued. In Yellow Light's prophecy, the great ruler above the spirit world is one of the variables of the apocalypse. However, I cannot be sure that you are equivalent to him. There are too many possibilities for you that allow that unique trait. For example, you being his blessed, his child, or his chosen oracle. But none of this stops me from expressing my friendship at him. You know about Backland Stock Exchange, right? You You're likely a railway company that just got lost. You seem to have a bright future ahead. Some people will naturally think well of you and purchase a certain number of shares, but they will be no lack of people who are greedy. They wish to use other means to seize this company or obtain the controlling rights. I'm part of the former, while Mother Tree of Desire and even more powerful spirit world creatures are part of the latter. Is that so? If it wasn't because of the transmigrator, Emperor Rizzo, who existed before me, had some level of interaction with the Grey Fog, and if I hadn't divined my origins in that mysterious space and received the clear scenes from Earth, allowing me to recall even more of my memories, I would have suspected if I was a reincarnation of the great ruler above the spirit world. Let me reread this. Is that so? If it wasn't because the transmigrator Emperor Rizzo, who existed before me, had some level of interaction with the Grey Fog, if I hadn't divined my origins in that mysterious space and received clear scenes of Earth, allowing me to recall even more of my memories, I would have suspected if I was a reincarnation of the great ruler above the spirit world. That's literally what we said a while ago, bro. I'm remembering. Don't worry. I'm digesting this. Don't worry. Taking everything into account from this experience, Emperor Rizal and I are marked like the chosen oracles. The great ruler above the Great Fog is equivalent to the celestial. The great ruler above the Great Fog, Klein, is equivalent to the celestial worthy of heaven and earth for blessings. Klein couldn't help but generate all kinds of conjectures as his mind was in a mess like a cat playing a ball of yarn. That's a good anagram. That's a good analogy to simplify it. He's like a cat playing with a ball of yarn. He's like, which one is it? He calmed his emotion and said, is there any way to hide this unique trait? No. Become a demigod. Helmsman suddenly coughed after answering, do you mind if I die? Do you mind if I die at your doorstep? Yes, Klein didn't wish to draw the attention of Sea King John Coltman, Naval Admiral Robert Davis, and other demigods. Helmosian munched at his sweet and said, then I'll have to leave immediately or else there wouldn't be time. After you become a demigod and have the powers to probe deeper into the spirit world, we might have a chance of meeting. I'm sorry. So once he becomes a beyonder, a bizarro sorcerer, he'd be able to contact with him. We might have a chance of meeting. Klein was silent for 2 seconds before saying, thank you for warning me, Mr. Hilarion. Helmoswin, I'm saying his name wrong. I'm so sorry. Didn't reply as he lumbered to the staircase. As he listened to the footsteps downstairs, Klein focused. Suddenly, he had a certain theory about why Emperor Zoa had failed to enter despite discovering the existence of the Grey Fog. Why? He restored that silver plate which resulted in his transmigration far after he became a Beyonder. As for me, he did it far after he became a Beyonder. As for me, I was already an ordinary person when I attempted the luck enchantment ritual again. Yeah, he did it like day one, dude. After Emperor, well, not day one, but like pretty early on. Also, Emperor Rizzo had chosen the Saving pathway while I took the Seer pathway. The mysterious space above the Grey Fog clearly provides great aid in divination. Therefore, the prerequisites for entering... So, not only do you need to be a transmigrator, you had to have been part of the Seer pathway to enter the Grey Fog. Therefore, the prerequisites for entering the space above the Grey Fog is to be ordinary person or beyonder of the Seer pathway, as well as knowing the corresponding incantation rituals and symbols. The Emperor's experiments were too late and had chosen the wrong pathway, so he naturally had no means of entering it. With how the Seer, Apprentice, and Marauder pathways are considered neighboring pathways, perhaps the former two would work too. Could it be that the deeper reason why Emperor Rizal made the poignant point in his diary that he should have chosen one of these 3 pathways, apart from not having any sequence 0, for these 3 pathways preventing any influence from the peak, is also the key to entering the Grey Fog? As his thoughts churned, Klein placed this matter, which he couldn't obtain any confirmation of, at the back of his mind. He began considering Orange Light Hilarion's warnings. Be careful of Mother... I don't even want to be with her again. It's a very interesting theory. Be careful of Mother Tree of Desire. Due to the incident as Admiral Miras, Klein was rather wary against the Mother Tree of Desire. He had no choice but to change his identity and use the need for him to act so as to hide for 2 months. Subsequently, he wasn't too willing to provoke Admiral Blood and other members of the Rose School of Thought, afraid he would fall into a trap towards the extreme danger lurking around. A normal human's first thought was to resolve the matter. It was likely the same for Klein, however, the problem was that he had no solutions. The Mother Tree of Desire was suspected to be Sequence 1 True God located in the Astral World. Even if Klein jumped, there's no way he could hit her or defeat her, and the faction of the Rose School thought that she controlled was an organization which was quite a long history. It likely had angels presiding over it and had grade 0 sealed artifacts. Otherwise, it was very difficult for them to survive to this day with the churches and all other secret organizations at odds with it. Therefore, even if Klein had plans on getting to help Mr. Zik or other powerful figures, there's no need he could uproot the Rose School of Thought. It was even possible that he would encounter danger. Due to this reason, Klein could only hide and hope that he could successfully advance the second form and become a demigod. I've always been careful against the Mother Tree of Desire, now he has to be more careful. Mr. Orange Light Hilarion didn't know that I once fell to the evil god's trap at Ararvi Island. Oh, he didn't know that. Everyone like, comment, subscribe, thank you, OG. Or that he specifically come over to warn me she would be doing something major soon. Huh. She would, it ends with her. Klein, it is big bearing time. Would be doing something major soon, huh? He was previously under Admiral Blood's control, and Admiral of Blood is a member of the Rose School of Thought. He might very well know of something. Klein was instantly alarmed. He didn't just blindly believe that a faceless transformation was enough to fool the Mother Tree of Desire's attention. According to the Orange Light Hilarion explanation, she would be able to discover certain unique traits when in close proximity with me. Oh, that's why she sensed him. Okay, this is something that faceless beyond her powers are unable to mask. And once you become a demigod, you'd be able to mask that better. She hasn't done anything in a while. Could it be that she is attempting to use this sensation to bestow something to her believers through some ritual or an item that she is about to succeed soon? Klein slowly frowned, like, and what is that going to be? Klein slowly frowned as he felt like Magoose 2.0? Well, Magoose 3.0 at this point? Klein slowly frowned as he felt that it was certainly a possibility. Thank you for subscribing, dude. Thank you. Things made him more eager to return to Backland. In the huge city, even angels had to behave themselves just like a particular snake of fate. True. The believers of the Mother Tree of Desire and the powerhouse of the Rose School of Thought were unable to act as they wished. All they could do was wait for an opportunity. Few, Klein exulted and headed above the great fog. He divined if the life would be in danger soon. This time he received a negative answer. His life wouldn't be in danger. However, Klein didn't relax the result. He recalled that the Mother Tree of Desire's divination interference could penetrate the great fog shielding to a certain extent. True. And very long after, his spirituality prevented him from divining werewolf beyond her characteristics above the great fog. This was because it might very well involve Chain God, and the Chain God was suspected to be another manifestation of the Mother Tree of Desire. Either there's really nothing going on that I'm overthinking matters. He's never overthinking this. He's always on to something. Either there's really nothing going on and I'm overthinking matters, or the danger is already very close. That's why the Mother Tree of Desire took action to interfere. To be safe, I need to make preparations. Even if it's proven to be a false alarm, it's still better than being captured by the Rose School of Thought and taken away by the Mother Tree of Desire. To perform some unspeakable matters, Klein immediately returned to the real world and took out a pen and paper before quickly writing a letter. He started with, Dear Miss... Oh, we're calling Mr. Zik? Dear Mr. Zik, considering how the underworld was inside the spirit world, that the demigods of the death pathway were considered high-ranking spirits, world creatures in certain ways, and that Mr. Zik might be able to see his unique trait after he recovered his memories, Klein was rather honest. He directly wrote about the entire conversation between Orange Light Hilarion Manifestation, Helmo Swin, the scientist. The only thing he left out was a gray fog and parts about the great existence above the gray fog. Finally, he mentioned something. Thus, Mr. Hilarion's wordings imply that all suffer mortal danger from the Rose School of Thought. After he folded the letter and blew the copper whistle to summon the messenger, Klein still didn't find it safe enough. He hurriedly took out the adventurer's harmonica and blew into it. Silently, Renette Tiniker's appearance before him, each of the four heads with blonde hair and red eyes, rotated and said, There's no letter? I have something to discuss with you. Klein forced a big smile. He handed over the gold coin and... Oh, look, now he's paying. Oh, he handed over the gold coin he received from Anderson and said, This is the fee for the summoning. One of the heads of Renette's held bit onto the gold coin. The other two heads that didn't get a chance to speak asked, What is it? I might face a certain degree of danger soon. I wonder if it's possible to summon you for help. I'm sorry, we're going to use the messenger for help? I wonder if it's possible to summon you for help. Klein tried his best to make his eyes look sincere. The 8 eyes on Renette's forehead started around and said, Yes, pay... pay 10,000 gold coins. What the fuck? I don't know how to pronounce her name, dude. Ten-e? Kerr? Ten-e? It's such a hard name for me to pronounce. It's hard. I'm telling you, I struggle with some of the names. She is a tycoon. Well, first of all, she's asking for 10,000 gold coins. Like, he only has 6, dude. 10,000 gold coins. That's 10,000 pounds. Klein turned to Gabe and said in a royal smile, I don't have that much money. Renette's forehead spoke one after another. Pay now or goodbye. You can pay by installments. Installments. Klein was surprised that his messenger kept with the times. After 2 seconds of shock, he said, all right, well, there's no time frame, so it's good. And I don't think she's going to be charging him interest. Renette didn't say anything else as her foreheads nodded simultaneously before disappearing in front of Klein, returning to the spirit world. Next chapter. Wait. Before we do next chapter. That was huge. So, like, literally one of the 7 pure lights warned Klein, told him, become a demigod and we might have a conversation again. And then it's like now the gray fog is actually related, or like it's theorized that it's related to the original creator, and you'd only be able to access it if you chose from like any pathway that correlates to the gray fog. Like the lords and lords manage if you need it. He also talked about a prophet, and then it's like now there's like the apocalypse, and it said the chosen of the mysterious world would be like one of the factors behind the apocalypse. By the way, by we, he meant he meant the 7 pure lights. Yeah, no, he was referencing the 7 pure lights, right? I don't think he'd be talking about like a lesser spirit. I assume he was talking about like the 7 pure lights. Client's most normal conversation. Would you mind if I died your doorstep? Sure. What do you think Miss Messenger needs gold? Now it's like, why the fuck does she need gold coins? And it's not pounds. She's asking for gold coins, not pounds. It's gold coins. He said the ruler above the ruler above the spirit world would be like a key factor behind the apocalypse. And then Klein is over here thinking like maybe like not himself. He's talking about like original Klein could have been like a chosen or a reincarnation or like a child of like the creator, like the first one. Baddie needs her money. I guess she probably needs her bag. She probably needs like her Louis Vuitton bag. Honestly, maybe she's gathering all these gold pounds for like a Louis Vuitton bag. It's more likely only at demigod level can he safely traverse. Yeah, so I assume once he hits demigod, he's gonna have better control over his spirit, like over his spirit body, spirit world, and he met them and not attract the attention of unfriendly spirit. Yeah, like once he becomes a high, like once he reaches demigod and uses his spirit form, he'd have better control. And not only that, his presence will be a lot stronger. No, not for the creator, but from the ruler of the spirit world. Okay, wait, hold up. Let me walk it back. Not like the creator, but like the thing behind the spirit world. That's what I meant. Sorry. Like whatever created the spirit world, like that's what it is. It just, I find it very coincidental that when Klein manifested a chair, all 22 chairs appeared for the 22 pathways, right? Allegedly. Like you can infer that. So it's like, I'm already like referencing the two. Like I'm literally referencing the spirit world to like have it has something to do with the original creator. Whether a gray fog created the spirit world, no, it's like I feel like everything came from the gray fog, the great ruler of the spirit world. Dude, there are no coincidence. Thank you, Hope. There are no such things as a coincidence. No, like what I'm thinking is like everything literally came from the spirit, like not from the spirit world. Everything came from the gray fog. And if everything came from the Great Fog, then like the original creator must have also had to have come from the Great Fog. And if he chose Klein as like his vessel, like whatever word it is, like his child, like his reincarnate, like whatever it is, he needed Klein to coincidentally choose the seer pathway to have access again. But then that doesn't make sense. And then like, how is he going to bring about? Oh my, like, how is he going to bring about the apocalypse? I have so many questions. Like, who the fuck is Klein now? Now I want to know. Now I don't want to know about Zome and Gray. I want to know about Klein. Like, I want to know about original Klein now. Like, I want to know why Klein and not Nass and not, no. Welch and Niall did not write Everybody Dies, including me. Klein was the only one that wrote that down. And that, like, him writing that down is anonymously in and of itself from the Antigonus family notebook. Now I'm like, what makes him so special? No. I don't think it is, dude. I think there's more behind it. There has to be more behind it. Like, why would he write that down? Or like even Zome and Guri. Like the two together, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like I find it so weird. I don't know. I can't like wrap my head around the fact that Klein was just like some original Joe that died, and Klein woke up in his body and he reads a statement, everybody dies including me, like before he shot himself, right? And then the fact that like no one heard that in the entire building, or like he was left there by himself, like there are still so many questions behind that. Klein's just a special little guy. It's like, and now we're getting this whole fucking revelation. Klein's like, what the fuck? Wait, so what does this actually mean with the spirit world, dude? I don't know. It's cool, but let's keep reading, dude. All right, next chapter, chapter 725 is called The Morning. Good morning to everybody that's just tuning in right now. Wow, there are 50 of you guys here, man. Damn. Thank you. Oh, you think it's referencing the apocalypse, Roy? Okay, it's not a spoiler because you're asking me a question. Or I know for others that ask questions, no. You think he knew something? Like, you're telling me, like, original Klein knew something about... We know they killed themselves because of the Antigonus family notebook, right? Like, the whole curse thing, like Welch and Naya. But you're telling me maybe Klein decided to kill himself? Because if he killed himself, then he wouldn't be directly linked to the apocalypse. But because Zob and Guri woke up in Klein's body, now the individual behind the apocalypse is back, you know? That's kind of crazy. Like, maybe Klein decided to kill himself on top of, you know, coming in contact with the Antigonus family notebook. Maybe he decided to kill himself because he knew he was going to bring about the apocalypse. All right, let's fucking lock in, dude. Oh my god, we got like another 10 chapters, dude. Chapter 725 is called Morning. Upon seeing the messenger disappear, Klein thought of the demigods he could contact on short notice, but he realized that there weren't any. There's no one. All he could do was turn his attention onto what he should do next. The city's wide broadcast must have made Sea King John Coatman not only find Helmswind, but he would also do his best to search for Sea God and the traces of his believers. It's easy to detect if I leave in the middle of the night, so I can only choose to stay here until daybreak. I can't take the ship tomorrow. If I encounter an attack midway, I might affect everyone on ship. Furthermore, it's not discreet enough, huh? I can summon an undersea creature and leave by riding it. I can rest and switch rides on the deserted islands and reefs we encounter along the way until I arrive at the next port. Since Orange Light said that the unique trait can only be detected at close distances, it still won't exceed the size of a city. Even if Mother Tree of Desire tries to expand her percentage range to find me via ritual of her believers, it might even be limited to the size of a particular street. This is why I encountered a trap when I arrived at when I arrived in Aravi. As long as I leave Bayam, I should not be able to escape from their gaze. While Klein's thoughts gradually turned clear, he suddenly heard a signal from the radio transceiver. He hurriedly went over and quickly jotted it down. Then with his codec, he transferred the corresponding words into a single sentence. Before long, the telegram contact appeared on paper in jet black. I see you. Oh shit, what the fuck? I see you. Klein. When Klein read those words, he felt a chill run down his heart. Oh, what the fuck? Oh shit, dude. Bayam and an orderly residence not far from the governor. Dude, hold on. This could be this is a good setup. I see you. Who the fuck said that, dude? Dude, that's literally me right now. Oh shit, like I got a little tear in my eye. Like, that message was definitely for Klein. Like, that was definitely for Klein and not something. Yeah, that message was definitely for him. Bayam, and like he sees him trying to like, oh shit, dude, shit's getting real, dude. Oh, oh shit, I got goosebumps. Bayam, in an ordinary residence not far from the governor's general office, in a spacious basement, there was candles silently burning, scattering their thin glow around the surroundings. Silvercoin Viper Odir had already taken off his hooded robe. He walked at the middle-aged man opposite to him as he trembled. He said with a very quivering voice, "Lord Senor, I don't know how Helmswain's real hiding place was known by others as well." Senor wore an old triangular hat, his eye sockets were recessed, and his face was shockingly pale. He looked more like an evil spirit than a human. He raised his hand to stroke the two black mustaches above his lips. As the light brown eyes collided, swept across Udir's face. In response, the well-known adventurer couldn't help but lower his head. After observing him for a few seconds, adamant blood in his white trousers and red coat said with a deep voice, less than 3 minutes after the telegram was sent, it was spread across the entire city, and the messenger spread was part of the telegram. I suspect that another faction has begun paying notice to radio transmissions, and they had obtained our code book from Old Quinn. Yes, yes, it has to be the case, O'Dear hurriedly echoed, hoping that Admiral Blood wouldn't pin the loss of Helmswain as him being in debt. He knew very well that the pirate admiral was cruel to subordinates who made mistakes. Senor swept his gaze at O'Dear and sneered. Regardless, you failed. If... Oh, that's kind of scary. Blood Admiral Senor is here. I'm ready, dude. I want to see what he's going to do. If not for you and your mistresses giving me plenty of joy, I would have gotten you to dig for the intents. Wait, did he say 2 months? Yeah, I assume like each piece, right? Not necessarily. Yeah, that was weird. Like, does he have 2 mustaches on top? Yeah, I think it's referencing each piece that's curled up. Maybe it was a translation thing. Oh shit. Bayham is an ordinary residence not far from the. I was about to reread this. Oh my god. If not for you and your mistress giving me plenty of joy, I would have gotten you to dig out your intestines. Ugh. The wife and the husband is wicked work. Dude, read this again. Regardless, you failed. If not for you and your mistress giving me plenty of joy, I would have gotten you to dig out your intestines. Yeah. One below the forehead. Send a telegram. Tell the listener who might or may not exist that I can see him. Let him spend the night in horror and unease. This is the only thing you need to know. This is the only thing you need to do now. Upon hearing that, O'Dear immediately heaved a sigh of relief. He glanced at Admiral of Blood in a trepidation and the bloody altar behind him before reverently replying, "Yes, Lord Senior." He felt the words became part of the sacrificial items just moments ago. After O'Dear retreated out of the basement, Senior turned his head to look at the altar conversation with human heads, organs, limbs, and blood. He said in a manner even more reverent than O'Dear treated him, Lord Shanks, has the ritual succeeded? Lord Shanks. Yes, all that's left is to wait for the god to respond. A cold, unfeeling voice sounded from the dropping curtains around the altars. Then the curtains seemed to possess life as they rolled up on both sides, smoothly forming a knot before landing in the middle of the altar. A somewhat translucent figure appeared by the side of the altar at some point in time. His skin was slightly brown and his wrinkles formed deep crevices. His white, thin hair... Shanks is a demigod? I mean, he has to be demigod level, right? If he's referencing Shanks from One Piece? No. His white, thinned hair was like leaves in autumn, as though they had lived for many, many years. He humbly fixated his gaze at the candlelight with his brown eyes. Senor didn't dare say a word as he stood beside Lord Shanks, awaiting for any changes to happen at the altar. Suddenly, the candle flames was dyed with all kinds of colors. Each color seemed to correspond to different desires and observers. The head, organs, limbs, my voice, limbs, and the blood on the altar moved by themselves as they stacked up together, forming the state of a melted candle. 627. He is the teacher of the leader of the naturalist sect of chapter 627. Really? Red hair Shanks, my goat. Really? Oh, that's your favorite chapter, Hope? Ah, man, this shit was traumatizing. I felt so bad, man. I felt so bad for everybody in that chapter. Before long, they formed a tree of flesh and blood. Ah, you shit fucking gross, dude. Forming the state of a melted candle. Before long, they formed a tree of flesh and blood that wasn't too tall. Its surface was uneven, resembling the shell of a walnut. Plop, plop, plop. The interior of the tree of flesh and blood seemed to have a heart beating forcibly with strength. When Senor was about to succumb to the din, the tree of flesh and blood instantly withered, rotting into slush and collapsing. There was a tiny flesh-colored, moist, sticky ball left behind. Soon, the tiny ball grew 4 limbs and a head, turning into a palm-sized humanoid creature. Ugh. Its face didn't have any eyes, nose, or ears other than the pinehole-like mouth. In its mouth, grayish-white fog spewed out before covering back in. It repeated several times without stopping. The elder named Shanks devotedly and passionately chanted the name Mother Tree of Desire and reached out to grab the strange tiny figure. Suddenly, all the candlelights were extinguished, but to a wraith who had night vision, they didn't affect them for seeing things. But to a wraith? Senor observed Shanks and heard the important person say in a deep voice, "We've prepared for a long time for this ritual, and God's grace can help us sense the existence of the target through a wider range." Oh, they're talking about client. Dude, 50 people here. Thank you, guys. Next, we can use the glasses made by the Life School of Thought to accurately locate him. As he spoke, Shane took out a I fucking knew it was the monocule. I was like, wasn't the fucking monocule the thing where you can like seep and see all like spirit creatures or whatever? Like back in volume 2, like wasn't that also made wait, so why is it monocules that can see this shit now? As he spoke, like why is it that like coincidentally they're all monocules? Lock in easy, we're locking in. As he spoke, Shanks took out a monocule from his inner pocket. It didn't look any different from a normal monocule, but it coruscated with a pearly white luster in the darkness. Lord Shanks, what should we do next? Senior asked respectfully. He's gonna put it on. The wrinkled Shanks stopped for a few seconds and asked, seek out the target after daybreak. If he has powerful helpers, we will monitor him and prevent him from leaving our detection range, then patiently await Lord Sua's arrival. If he doesn't have any guardians and is weak himself, then we shall take action directly. Oh, there's gonna be a sick-ass fucking fight with the messenger, dude. With Renette. Oh, after hearing the words Sua, the corners of the senior's forehead twitched as though just the mere mention of this important figure left him apprehensive. He slowly took a deep breath and said, yes, Lord Shanks. Who the fuck is Sua? After answering, Sinor instinctively touched the necklace by his chest. The necklace seemed to be made of pure silver, and the pendant looked like an ancient coin. An ancient coin. Sua? Klein, who didn't get much... Of course he didn't get much sleep. He's fucking scared, dude. Klein, who didn't get much sleep for the rest of the night due to the fright from receiving the telegram, immediately sacrificed his suitcase, wallet, and most of his cash to the mysterious space above the Grey Fog for a daybreak. After cleaning up his tracks, he went to the front desk to check in. He rode a carriage to the borders of Bam, left the city and climbed. He's fucking out, dude. Left the city and climbed to the mountain as though he was heading for a cemetery prepared for the locals. Midway through his journey, he suddenly took a detour into the woods. Damn, he's fucking out, dude. Midway through his journey, he suddenly took a detour into the woods and planned on walking straight to the cliffs where a massive undersea creature was waiting underneath it. He fucking yeeted, bro. He's gone, dude. Was underneath for him. The birds chirped and the insects buzzed in the words as critters would occasionally scuttle by. Klein walked through his humic material covered grounds at high speeds. Along the way, he saw mushrooms. No. Mother tree? Along the way, he saw mushrooms growing after the rain, torn cloth and rubbish which Bayam residents had left behind after panic. Okay. All right, it's good. Everything seemed so serene along the fresh morning air. Okay, I thought it was scary mushrooms. A leaf fluttered down as Klein didn't stop and easily dodged it. What the He's just like, he doesn't even want to touch anything, dude. At that moment, the leaf's speed sped up and did a surprising bend, clinging to him between his lip and nose. It was like an adult's palm that clasped. What the fuck? Oh, shit. What the fuck? It has to be a planner ability, right? At that moment, the leaf's speed sped up and did a surprise bend, clinging to him between his lips and nose. It was like an adult's palm that clasped his mouth and nose tightly, making it impossible for him to breathe. Su. Is this Sua? The surrounding trees had their branches fall off as they shot at Klein like sharp arrows. What the fuck? And the rubbish left from the picnic... Oh, there goes the mushrooms. And the rubbish left from the picnic received a life of their own. They formed an airtight net as they came looming over. Dude, what the fuck? Oh, we're about to hit the fucking battle music. We're putting fucking battle music. All right, we're locking in, guys. It's okay. Chapter 726 called Preparations Are Very Important. Suddenly, Klein had a familiar feeling. It felt like every tree, every leaf, every rock, every blade of grass wanted him dead. Upon seeing the rubbish comprising of fragments and paper lunge at him in a strange web, his body suddenly collapsed into a paper figurine. Oh, shit. So. The arrow-like branches impelled the paper figurine and landed into the distance. As for the strange net, it immediately enveloped everything within a ball as it gently squirmed. Klein's body appeared to the side of the 8-meter... Klein's body appeared to the side about 8 meters away. He knew that the attack he was worried about had finally descended upon him. He didn't make any observations or show any hesitation. Raising his right palm, he reached into the pocket and pulled out the adventurer's harmonica. He's summoning the messenger! No shot! The situation he had encountered had made him realize that the attacker was likely a demigod from the Rose School of Thought. It was an enemy he was currently unable to defend against. The one who had to be pursuing Sharon back then gave him a similar feeling. The one who had been pursuing Sharon back then gave him a similar feeling. At this moment, the paper figurines in his pocket suddenly flew out as he plastered over his face, one after another, layers after layer. At the same time, Klein's sleeves automatically tightened as they bound both of his arms, preventing his palms from reaching down. His Taraba shirt and brown jacket were tightly like a bear giving him a hug. Oh, shit. Here we go. In seconds, he was bound on the spot by his clothes, trousers, and shoes. His face was covered with paper figurines, and his ribs were on the brink of fracturing. he found it abnormally difficult to breathe. Klein was mentally prepared and was equipped with a rich combat experience, so he didn't panic. His right thumb and middle finger, which weren't affected, touched each other as he snapped his fingers. I updated this part, right? Okay, it is updated. At his ham, scarlet flames immediately soared up, burning tightly bound trousers clean before spreading upwards and downwards. Seizing this opportunity, Klein bent his knees and jumped up with great difficulty like a cannonball that weakly fell to the ground moments after being launched, and he lunged to his right. In midair, he snapped his fingers again. This time, the sleeves by the right arm joint was ignited. As for the spot where he originally stood, the green weeds suddenly withered and the blackened ground suddenly turned white as if they had been weathered by the elements. This attack was silent and deadly without any forewarning. Klein knew that his enemy was powerful and that staying in the same spot would likely result in him suffering an attack he couldn't resist. Yeah. It's gonna be bad. You want to play it? Yeah, we can play that one. All right, we'll play it. All right, we'll play that. Yeah, I want to actually kind of do want to hear that one. All right, let me read from right here. Seizing this opportunity, Klein bent his knees. Yeah, this one fits a little bit better. Seizing this opportunity, Klein bent his knees and jumped up with great difficulty, like a camel ball that weakly fell to the ground moments after being launched as he lunged to his right. Music a little bit louder. I got you. Let me know how it sounds. As for the spot where he was originally standing, the green weeds suddenly withered and the black ground suddenly turned white as if he had been weathered by the elements. This attack was silent and deadly without any forewarning. Klein knew that his enemy was powerful and that the staying in the same spot would likely result in him suffering an attack he couldn't resist. Therefore, he first removed the influence on his legs. If he hadn't done so, he would have already been heavily injured and lost his ability to do combat. He might have even perished. With a smacking sound, two spots in Klein's sleeves ignited. His right palm finally had the freedom to move as he reached in his pocket and grabbed the adventurer's harmonica. Plop. He fell to the ground, rolled, and he immediately stopped himself from his right hand to bounce up. His left palm, which wore a human skin glove, snapped its fingers. Still a little bit louder. I'll pull a bit more up. This time, his target was the paper figurines that were plastered over his face to prevent him from breathing. Pa. The paper figurine burned up as the scarlet tongue of his fire burned Klein's hair. At that moment, a scene suddenly flashed in his mind. An icicle had formed and was speeding right in front of him from a thin, gloomy green arrow. Due to its speed, it was a translucent itself, making it usually impossible to discover it. But even though Klein's dangerous premonition was triggered, it was a little too late. This was because his clothes was still affecting his mobility. It was too late for him to dodge the attack. A thought flashed through his mind and he barely bent his back. His upper torso was bent backwards and he moved quite significantly to his right. Oof. The thin, cold ice arrow struck his left chest, instantly shattering the brown jacket and white round collar shirt which were located there and scattered into the thin air. However, this lethal ice arrow didn't continue heading forward. This was because it didn't keep going forward? This was because in its way was a book with a dark brown cover. Oh, the book appeared ordinary and it was bound into a book with... He literally took out his tiny little book to cover the attack. He did say he could use it. And you guys are like, it's such a small shield. He's not going to be able to use it. He's literally using it. The thin, cold ice arrow struck his left chest, instantly shattering brown jacket and white round collars were located there as he scattered into there. However, this lethal ice arrow didn't continue heading forward. This was because in its way was a book with a dark brown cover. The book appeared ordinary and it was bound into a book with commonly seen yellowish brown goatskin, but it didn't shatter like the two pieces of clothing. There wasn't even a hole pricked on it. Grizel's travels. This was an item that even the Sea God Scepter Lightning Storm imbued with some powers of the mysterious space had failed to damage. Last time the telegram of ICU gave Klein such a fright that he undoubtedly refined his protective countermeasures. He prepared every method he could think of. Knowledge. Apart from hiding the book at his vital spot. Oh, that was a good spot, to be fair. Covering a vital spot. Apart from hiding the book at his vital spot, his other pocket in the iron cigar case, which stored the influence of the corrupted true creator. He's coming out swinging. Once things went bad, he would dispel the wall of spirituality, throw out the item, and see if it would draw the attention of the true creator. He hoped that he would sense his powerful subordinates to make the situation more chaotic. He knew that even evil gods like the true creator hated the mother tree of desire. After withstanding the ice arrow, Klein fell to the ground while somersaulting to the side. He then brought the adventurer's harmonica to his lips and blew hard into it. At that moment, his face was turning a little black due to the burning of the paper figurines, but due to the flame controlling, he wasn't injured. Then he felt the clothes on his left arm, waist, thighs, necks, and legs were restored to normal, giving his newfound freedom. At that moment, he blew the harmonica and he quickly activated his spirit vision. He saw Miss Messenger walk out of the void with 4 blonde red-eye heads in hand. They automatically turned and stared at the same spot. One of the heads grunted as it opened its mouth and began drawing near. A cold wind hummed as a figure was forcibly pulled out from a green tree 100 meters away from Klein. The figure failed to maintain his difficult to detect state as he rapidly turned half transparent and half corporeal. He was a wrinkled elder with white thin hair. Yeah, so it's So. What was the name? Sue? Klein or Batman? I think they're at the same level right now. I think Klein is just as prepared as it comes to Batman. Like, I'm putting him at the same pedestal right now. He was the wrinkled elder with white thin hair. His facial features had the traits of the people of the southern continent, just as his brown eyes reflected Renette's. His brows pricked up. And then he didn't hesitate to open his mouth as though he had about to deliver an extreme curse that he had been preparing for a long time. At this moment, another one of his heads, where Renette's was holding, had opened its mouth as well, as though it was making a silent screech. With that, nothing happened inside the forest. When Shanks saw this, he hurriedly turned his head to look at Klein, who had yet to react in time when a figure with white, thin hair and exaggerated wrinkles appeared in his eyes. It is a perfect song for LO10 fights, especially against the desert. The desert. Oh, shut up. Thin hair and exaggerated wrinkles appeared in his eyes. His mind instantly turned cold. Although his thoughts weren't impeded, he had lost control over his body. All he could do... Oh, shit, he's losing control? He had lost control over his body. All he could do was watch the white-haired elder vanish as he turned to face Miss Messenger. The two heads with Renette carried suddenly flew out as he appeared before Klein. One of them opened his mouth as he drew in air, while the other's red eyes turned dark as its teeth turned long and sharp, phasing between incorporeal and corporeal states. What the fuck? Klein saw the translucent elder with white, thin hair being forcibly pulled out from his body before Miss Messenger's head with a long teeth that bit at its shoulder, tearing out at an object that appeared both like a spirit body and a physical body. Shanks frowned. Oh, it's Shanks, not Sue. Shanks frowned without screaming. Its figure abruptly vanished as it leaped to a spot with a glass fragment 100 meters away. Following that, he seemed to be pursued by formless hands and enemies. He kept phasing into the shallow puddles of water in the eyes of an animal, the dew on plants, etc. Finally, he was able to watch a breather and still. Klein was feeling a little stiff and cold from the inside out. Shanks entered the spirit world and walked out again. In his hand was a moist, sticky, palm-sized doll. Ugh. When Klein pulls out his gun, all right. The figure's face only had a hole as it was inhaling and exhaling a grayish-white fog, which Klein found familiar. Shanks didn't hesitate as he stuffed the doll into his mouth. Upon seeing this, Renette's other two heads left her palm and, like before, flew towards Shanks at fast speed, arriving nearly instantly. However, Shanks had already begun transforming. His body turned black as his skin scorched up and the water began seeping out. His hair, brows, and other parts began withering and dripping. Following that, his limbs grew long and thin. Ugh, that's gross, dude. In just a second, Shanks seemed to be assimilated by the doll, becoming a huge, black, moist infant with long, four limbs and swollen, shriveled skin. How does Cuttlefish come up with all these descriptions, man? Ugh. His eyes, nose, mouth, and ears moved from their original locations to the middle of this face as though they were gathering together to form a brand new organ. His skin, limbs, and newly formed organs brought an indescribable sense of mystery and wickedness. Look at that title drop. Mystery. Just a single look had made his body, which had just recovered from the coldness, feel extremely itchy. Red spots protruded from his skin, a result of the clumps and fine granules. His eyes undoubtedly suffered a piercing pain. He instinctively closed them tight as tears were forced out. By the time he had calmed himself with cognition and opened his eyes again, he realized that Miss Messenger and the rose school of thought demigod had vanished. However, Klein's spirituality and intuition told him that they were nearby. They were in an intense battle shutting between the real world and the spirit world. Be it dropping of the leaves, the shaking of the weeds, the crawling of the worms, and the fleeting of the wild beasts, all of them represented each other in every clash. As his mind worked, Klein took out Death Note and tapped his left thumb on his first segment of his index finger. Countless illusionary thin threads appeared in his eyes, making him see objects that illusion couldn't be seen with his normal vision or spirit vision. That's so cool. Two blobs were flying around him, and the dense black bundles of threads that entangled, it's his spirit threads, right? Entangled with each other, Renette's and the Rose School of Thought's demigod. Apart from these, Klein also discovered that a blob of illusionary black threads was rapidly approaching him. A third person is coming? It was stopped from time to time so as to avoid the intense battle between the two demigods. There's another enemy, an enemy who was hiding in the distance awaiting the results, but hasn't decided to participate in the battle. Anyways, anyone who's stealthily approaching in such a situation must be an enemy. Klein's eyes moved slightly as he cocked the Death Knell and lowered it naturally and pulled it into a state for lethal attack. Ooh. Okay, all right. He took out his gun. Wait, what? Then he pretended as though he hadn't detected the bundle of the illusionary black thread, stuffed his left palm into his pocket, and grabbed a gold coin. He made it tumble between his fingers as though he was doing in a divination state. He was doing this to disrupt the approacher's spiritual intuition for danger. After losing his paper figurines, this was the only method he had. After patiently waiting for 2 seconds when the other party was within shooting range, Klein's eyes turned solemn as he suddenly raised his right hand, aimed, and pulled the trigger. Damn, dude. Oh, my goodness. All right, chapter 727 is called Lucky One. Thud. The black revolver with the slightly long barrel recoiled backwards as a pale golden beam shot out, heading straight for the spot where the target was about to arrive at. Damn. However, the illusionary black thread suddenly stopped as though they were observing something. From his condition, it didn't appear like he had sensed the arrival of danger. But he had his attention attracted by something else. A grayish-white rabbit. A rabbit? What the fuck? A grayish-white rabbit leaped out of the thick grass and fled far away as a tree standing in front of the blob and illusionary black threads collapsed due to the gunshot. At the height of a human, a gigantic and irregular hole and a raging pure fire appeared at the tree trunk's direct splitting from the middle. Death Knell's might was equivalent to a small caliber cannon, and its penetrating powers was even more potent. The blob of dense illusionary black threads was clearly given a fright as it instantly disappeared from where it was, appearing on the surface of a nearby puddle of water. Inevitably, his figure was outlined. He had a pale face with deep recessed eye sockets and light brown eyes. He looked in his 40s, had a double Oh! It's Sue. Wait, no. The double mustache guy. Had a double mustache above. How the fuck do you have a double mustache above his lips and wore an old triangular hat? Klein was no stranger to this man, and his bounty notice often appeared before his eyes. No, I thought it was Sue. No. Step by step, they were stacked in a clear image. Admiral Blood Senior. Just in low and alone, his bounty was worth 42,000 pounds. Oh, he's gonna be able to pay his messenger after this fight, huh? He had long infiltrated Bayham. Was it to take away Tarani von Helm? After this scientist passed away due to being discovered, he joined the Rose School of Thought's mission to target me. I seem to have an additional weakness, but before it triggered, get it? I have no way of knowing what it is. As his thoughts raced, Klein saw I laughed at my own joke. Get it? Trigger? As his thoughts raced, Klein saw Sonor's figure disappear once again. However, the traces of Admiral Blood's existence was rather obvious. The blob of illusionary black threads of his was like a firefly in the darkness. It wasn't difficult to identify him at all. The blob of illusionary black threads circled around him with the aid of the morning dew, grass fragments, and wall puddles that had frozen for some reason. Jumping again and again from one medium to another, the gap between the two narrowed. Klein didn't wait on the spot. Instead, he quickly moved, but only slightly shifted his position so as to prevent the Rose School of Thought demigod, who was engaged in an intense battle, from attacking him in passing. Sonor's performance made him understand one thing: a wraith's ability to possess someone to directly control their body requires them to enter a certain range. Previously, although the Rose School of Thought demigod was able to accomplish it at a further distance, he hadn't done so, perhaps out of contempt or for fear of any accidents. It could be confirmed that Senor was a Sequence 5 wraith. Klein kept changing his location, and he awaited the opportunity when the distance between them was more suitable. Just as Admiral Blood's speed slowed down slightly and he was about to possess his target from a distance, Klein's left glove suddenly turned deep black, as though it was formed in layers by pure particles. Damn, dude. Following that, he said a word filled with foulness, a word that came from the devil language. Slow. Oh, he's slowing him down. Dude, there's 61 of you guys here, dude. Thank you. Can we get 69? No, I'll shut up. Sonora had sensed it and changed his position before Klein could even open his mouth. Though everything within an 8-meter radius came to halt, his evasive maneuver had failed to show him any effects. It was an area of an effect attacked. Senor's figure suddenly became slow. He once again outlined his figure in the real world, and Klein raised his iron black revolver, cocked it, and placed his target in his sights. With Death Knell, he saw that Senor's body was covered with all kinds of colors that indicated his weakness. Oh yeah, he can see his weaknesses now. That indicated his weakness. It wasn't at his head, but slightly above his throat. Without any hesitation or delay, Klein pulled the trigger, lethal attack. At that moment, a blob of illusionary black threads walked to Senor's side and pulled at him. Admiral Blood immediately moved diagonally as a golden bullet grazed past his neck, striking a boulder and shattering it. He fucking dodged that? What the fuck? He's like, and it just grazed his neck. A golden flame burst from Signor's neck as it jerked his head up and opened his mouth. A sharp shriek blasted out and entered Klein's ears, causing his mind to hum as his body came to... So fucking sick. It's so fucking cool, dude. A sharp shriek blasted out and entered Klein's ears and causing his mind to hum as his body came to a temporary halt. A temporary halt. I can't read. I'm choking on my saliva. Formless souls had flown to Signor's side. Formless souls had flown to Signor's side at some point in time before mixing with cold winds. From the sky and from the ground, they surged towards the enemy, and each of Klein's eyes, a pale-looking man with a red coat and a triangular hat, quickly appeared and took form. Pop. Klein snapped his fingers as his body was instantly enveloping by the scarlet flames. He disappeared from his location before the wraith was able to possess him. And under a tree that was less than 10 meters away, weeds and burst into flames that flames grew bigger as they soared into the sky. Dude, it's crazy. YouTube, when I was making my post, YouTube lets you do like an AI generated image, and I put Twilight Hour, but like mysterious and gloomy, and it had a picture of like this field during golden hour, and it had like a tree just sitting there. That would have been a coincidental image if I put that, but I didn't. But that's crazy, dude. Klein nimbly leapt out of it and raised Death-Knell again. He aimed towards the spot where he was originally standing still at, and he injected more than twice the normal amount of spirituality into the gun. He's going slaughter. Slaughterer. Thud. He pulled the trigger as a golden bullet split into countless shrapnel with a sacred flame swept the region gun's mouth and had aimed it. The formless spectators and souls seemed to be swept away by a solar hurricane as they failed to resist and were ignited amid screaming. Signor knew that a counterattack was in place once his position attempt didn't succeed. He immediately flashed into a nearby glass fragment in an attempt to evade the incoming shot, but the bullet hurricane brought about by the slaughterer was a rather huge range that included the glass fragments. Amidst a huge boom, golden flames struck the sides of the glass without hitting it. With only burn injuries, Signor leapt to another mirror surface and appeared on the surface of a rolling drop of dew a distance away. His body had a rotting wound thanks to the purification powers, but it wasn't anything serious. There's no way he's that lucky. Yeah, just a little bit lucky. There's no way he's that lucky, right? Indeed, Signor had a mystical item that makes himself lucky. I feel like Klein could use this. There are only 3 purifying bullets left. Klein frowned as he agilely ran over as though he was in pursuit. As he knew that he was facing members of the Rose School of Thought, he had changed all the Beyonder bullets in his revolver to purifying bullets that target wraiths and zombies. There were a total of 6 bullets, and now he had already shot thrice. In the first shot, Signor was saved by a rabbit that suddenly leaped out, and the second shot, that was kind of wild. What the fuck, man? Luck is such an OP ability, dude. And I always slept on luck in video games. I never worked on my LUT stats, but now I should, huh? In the first shot, Signor was saved by a rabbit that suddenly leapt out. In the second shot, he was yanked away by the Rose School of Thought's demigod who happened to come beside him. In the third shot, he happened to be in the gap of a fragment amidst the slaughterer hurricane, preventing him from suffering too much damage. Klein found his level of luck completely unacceptable. He's getting super fucking lucky. I feel like Klein could use this, though. However, Klein didn't wallow in depression. Instead, he turned back into Germanspur's appearance and build. This was for him to immediately throw a bunch of Sea God domain charms to create a certain communication once things went south, so as to attract the attention of Sea King John Copeman, who was in Bayham City. Oh, he's going to lure him in. If this Sequence Street demigod were to arrive, he would be facing a Rose School of Thought demigod, a hostile pirate admiral, and an adventurer with mysterious background who had certain ties with the military. It was quite obvious who he was going to deal with first. As for Miss Messenger, Klein believed that she would escape in the spirit world in a timely fashion and was free to choose whether to participate in the battle royale or leave. And the reason why Klein didn't escape in the middle of the night after receiving the telegram last night was because Sea King John gave him a sense of security. If he were to leave alone, he would definitely be noticed and captured by the Church of Storms. He would be interrogated, making the subsequent developments unpredictable. If he were to stay in the room and wait for the person who saw him to attack, he had a chance of struggling until he reached the streets, allowing Sea King to notice him. We up, dude. Faced with an evil operative who was at least a demigod of Sequence 5 adventurer, who was rumored to have ties with the military, there was no doubt that John Copeman would first deal with the Rose School of Thought's members. And as the cardinal of the Church of Storms and the higher-ranking deckhand of the Mandated Punishers, he could use various sealed artifacts of the diocese. He could last a moment even if he faced an angel. That's great. Face an angel. At the same time, with the reinforcements from the military, there was a chance for Klein to escape to the sea during the chaos and leave via well, and he's just out like that. To his regret, the night remained peaceful after he received the telegram, and once daybreak happened, Sea King would find it difficult to monitor the entire city. Pa, Klein snapped his fingers again, igniting the surrounding trees that appeared like blooming fireworks around him as they exuded an inexplicable sense of beauty. The reason why he had chosen to pass through the forest to head for the cliff was because this was a place that was suitable for a magician's performance. His figure flashed through the flames as he circled around Senor, avoiding his approaching control. And from the previous expression and lesson, Senor knew that this target had an area of effect attacks and a damaging blow. He didn't dare to stay too close to him, and he would pull away and create a gap once he missed an attack. Otherwise, he would use a Wraith Streak to affect his target or use his pale green figures to aim his target. Unfortunately, the latter could only extinguish flames and withered vegetation. There was no way to pinpoint Klein's location. Seeing how the fireworks, like flames, were the biggest barriers to his attacks, Senior stopped and let out the defending Shriek, which would only damage his spare body. Amidst Shriek, the icy blue halo beneath his feet rapidly expanded, covering the mud. Randomly strew weeds and scattered rocks with a layer of ice. The flames sized as they produced tiny amounts of mist before being extinguished by the frost. Klein was influenced by the Wraith Streaks, causing his flames jumps to be one step slow. He ended up failing. His figure projected itself midway as his feet stumbled. Then he saw illusionary skull swirling with black gas rushing at him, bringing with them the strong smell of death as though... what? He saw illusionary skull swirl with black gas rush at him, bringing with him the strong smell of death, as though an envoy from the underworld had arrived. At that instant, Klein didn't seem like he could dodge. However, a light blue fireball emanating the smell of sulfur suddenly condensed before him. Like, where is Azik? Azik needs to show up in this scenario, dude. Where is he, dude? His glove remained black as it remained in its devil state. With a thumping sound, the fireball was extinguishing as the illusionary skull shattered and scattered to the ground, creating spots that didn't have any life for them. Right on the heel of that, Klein steadied his body and took out the iron cigar case. Oh, okay, here we go. He got jumped. Right on the heels of that, Klein steadied his body and took out the iron cigar case from his pocket. He threw it at Admiral Blood Senior, and his glove turned noble and sinister at some point in time. Baron of Corruption, bribe. Damn. Fucking what a good fight, dude. All right, chapter 728 is called Triple Combo. Who the f is coming in now? Senor obviously wasn't going to bet that the item thrown by his opponent didn't pose a threat. He merely dodged far away, allowing the iron cigar case. Imagine it was just a bluff. He merely dodged far away, allowing the iron cigar case, which was sealed by wall spirituality, to fall to the ground. Then he opened his mouth once again and produced a shriek. A roar that seemed to come from the depths of his own spirit body made Klein experience excruciating pain at his head. Even though he often suffered from the ravings of existence like the true creator in Mr. Door, and was rather resistant towards such attacks, it was impossible for him to not pause momentarily. He felt his nose burning as though a capillary had burst. However, with his resistance combining together with bribe, the effects were reduced. It made his momentary pause only last for an instant, and this was something Senor had no idea of knowing. Therefore, Klein pretended as though he hadn't recovered, and he revealed his weak state, waiting for the enemy to fall into his trap. In an ordinary battle, as a Wraith was able to jump through the mirror like mediums, making it impossible to determine the location ahead of time. It made it impossible to maintain 5-meter distance for his opponent. Even if he created flames and repeatedly used it to achieve phasing, it caused his spirit body thread's controlling ability to be disrupted momentarily. Oh, and he can't even use it. To be disrupted momentarily after there were any significant events. For this, he planned on taking a little risk. He made his opponent fall for a trap he planned so as to quickly end the battle and escape to the cliff. Seeing his target appear dazed due to the repeated shrieks, Senor didn't hesitate to make his aura turn deep. Admiral Blood's contracted figure rapidly appeared in Klein's eyes in a normally clear manner. This wasn't a reflection of the world, but two tiny figures seemingly coming to life in his eyes. What? When the Wraith's possession was almost close to complete, Klein, with his tattered and charred clothes, unhurriedly extended his left palm as though he was gesturing please as a polite gentleman. Creeping hunger maintained its sinister and noble backlash as it forcibly distorted Admiral Blood's target. Due to the freezing halo from before, there was also frost and crystalline bodies everywhere around them. All of them were equivalent to a mirror surface. On the thin ice, Senor was in his triangular hat had appeared before. His expression was as though he was at a loss. At that moment, Creeping Hunger switched to a deep black state. As Klein said, with a world filled with foulness and a word that came from the devil language, slow. Just as he was about to use the mirror surface to phase away, Senor instantly froze. His figure involuntarily outlined itself as his body turned extremely rigid. His attempts had failed. As there was no way to repeatedly use slow, Klein made his left glove turn pale as it was tinged with a slightly dark green color, zombie. The ceiling caused by the by the frost on the ground had once again oh my god, I can't read. Exacerbated as they rapidly spread to Senor's side as they began to spread from his toes to turn him into a complete icy sculpture. With his knowledge, the Rave had a very strong resistance to cold. Klein didn't let his guard down or waste any time. He made creeping hunger transform as it was gilded. The illusioning black threads in his eyes were hidden away as two blinding silver bolts of lightning shot out from the innermost depths of his eyes. Interrogator's psychic piercing. In his usual state, Senor's fusion of his spirit and flesh and typically wouldn't be significantly affected. He can even cause the attack to backfire on his opponent. Really? However, having just recovered from his slow, he found himself sealed in ice. All he could do was resist the formless bolt of the target his spirit body. His mind felt as though a blade had penetrated as it twisted. The pain spread through his body as it temporarily lost its reason. By the time he regained his lucidity and preparing to make his continuous leaps to open up the distance, the cold adventurer opposite him opened his mouth once again slow. Dog shit. Senor's actions turned sluggish and impeded once again. Then, without any surprises, he suffered from the two follow-up attacks of the ice stun and psychic piercing. When he barely escaped again, the black-haired, brown-eyed German Sparrow opened his mouth a third time with a deadpan expression, slow. Senor was engaged as he reeled in despair before finding himself stuck in a protruded cycle. As for Klein, he's like, dog shit, dude. He's literally just spamming B. He's like, he's button mashing, dude. He's literally button mashing, dude. He's just using the same attack. And it's fucking working, dude. It's literally fucking working. Senor was enraged. Dude, he is rage baiting right now. Senor was enraged as he reeled in despair before finding himself stuck in a perpetuated cycle. As Recline, who kept his opponent in place 3 times, was beginning to control his opponent's spirit body threads, he literally fucking stun locked him, dude. In fact, the most effective solution for when his opponent wasn't able to escape was to take the opportunity to use Death Note to deliver. I swear, dude, if he becomes so fucking lucky and escapes, ain't no way, dude. Was to take the opportunity to use Death Note to deliver 2 or 3 lethal attacks, but his past failures had told him that his enemy had a mystical item that allowed him to be lucky. An overly direct and lethal shot might very well lead to an accident, resulting in some undesirable effects. It was precisely because of this that he decided to gradually proceed in proper order by controlling Admiral Blood's spirit body threads. Time quickly passed as Klein ran around Senor to dodge the possible attacks from the Rose School of Thought demigod. He controlled Senor's spirit body threads, and he slowly reached to the state of gaining initial control. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Senor's thoughts instantly turned sluggish as though every part of his body was resting. He's gonna make a good marionette, dude. Klein no longer had the strength to use Creeping Hunger again. He continued deepening his control as he began walking at an adequate speed. No, I can't let this continue. Thoughts slowly moved through Senor's mind as a translucent icicle condensed in front of him. It was dyed with a gloomy green as though it was showing its respect to its surrounding forest. As for Klein, who had witnessed his opponent's series of slow actions, he unhurriedly retracted his left hand and took out Grisel's travels from his chest to brace himself. Sue. The icicle finally shot out, seemingly heading for Klein's chest, but it suddenly changed directions midway and flew diagonally upwards. Plot armor versus plot armor, who shall prevail? This adjustment should have been a sudden lethal blow, but as Senior's thoughts had been slowed down significantly. The order received by the icicle had only happened when it was almost reaching Klein. This made the sudden change insufficient to catch Klein by surprise as he shifted Grisel's travels and easily blocked the attack. Okay, that's good. Senor's expression turned pale again. After a few seconds of thoughts, he slowly opened his mouth in an attempt to let out a rave shriek. It's not going to work. Having already prepared himself, Klein spoke first. Bang! Damn, dude. An air bullet quickly shot out and struck Senor in the mouth, throwing his head backwards and teeth fell. Ugh. The shriek was left stuck in his throat. Seeing the control deepen and how Senor's resistance was crumbling bit by bit to the point of losing his reason and launching a barrage of attacks like a lunatic, Klein suddenly felt some joy. At that moment, a shrill, sharp infant's cry sounded and resounded in the words. Lumps protruded all over Klein's body as he dropped Grisel's travels from his hand. His head felt as though it was beginning to clasp tightly by an invisible hand, making him momentarily lose his senses of his surroundings, including the spirit body threads. His control over Sonora was removed as a result. After 100 meters away from them, the large-sized baby, which was black, swollen, and wrinkled, that appeared to have stormed out of the water, had escaped into its illusionary state and returned to reality. Yeah. Klein is bullying him. About 100 meters away from them, the large-sized baby... I just read this part. His limbs were long and thin, and there was only an irregular hole on his face. Circling the hole were granular teeth. At that moment, Shank's body had an additional wound that was obvious and deep. It was a piercing wound that went through the back and the swollen skin. causing protruded blackish green liquid to gush out. After this rose school of thoughts demigods appeared, he stopped dodging or escaping. He began screaming like crazy, letting out infant screams. It made Klein and Sinar fall into a painful stupor. Even their bodies showed signs of losing control. The four blonde, red-eyed heads were thrown into the void as they opened their mouth and let out a soundless shriek, silencing the terrifying cries. Renette and Shanks had engaged in another round of combat, phasing between the spirit world and reality from time to time as they shoveled between leaves, weeds, insects, eggs, and ice crystal swords. I find it crazy how they're like phasing in between the spirit world and the real world, dude. It's so fucking sick, dude. Sinar and Klein stood by in their spots in stupor. They tried their best to recover from the effects of the infantile cry. In this aspect, Sinar believed that as a Wraith, he had an unsurpassable advantage. Nah, don't worry about it, dude. It's not gonna work for long. The corners of his lips subconsciously curled up again. He had already figured out what to do with his opponent later, but at that moment, the eyes of the adventurer, who was in tattered clothes while exuding a cold demeanor, had turned lucid. It had only been a second since the infantile cry had ended. Klein, who was as experienced in this, quickly recovered as he realized the Signor was still in a dazed and impeded state. An opportunity, Klein's. Nah, he's gonna be a little lucky. Don't do it. Don't. I dropped my mic. Klein's body. Whoa, shit, I lost my place. It was something of an opportunity. Shit, I lost my place. Fuck. Oh, quickly recovered as he realized Signor was still in dazed and impeded attack. An opportunity. His mind stirred, but he didn't attempt a long-distance attack, which allowed for plenty of accidents. Instead, he chose to control Signor's spirit body threats, which took more time. He tapped his right foot and his figure dashed forward to his opponent like a panther. His left glove was dark when it moved backwards. It condensed in a manner that resembled a blade, forming a gigantic weapon from the lava and flames. Desire Apostle's Sword of Lava. Fucking finally, dude. He's using the... No wonder you guys are spamming fire. He's finally using his Sword of Lava. Desire Apostle's Sword of Lava. Bam. Client's fucking sick, dude. This is the first time he's like genuinely used like a sword. Like, right? It's like his first, like, I know he had sword practice in like volume 1 with his sword teacher but this is fucking sick. The Desire Apostle's Sword of Lava. Bam. Klein's body passed by Signor's left as the searing sword swept across his chest and got stuck in the middle. It got stuck. The light blue flames ignited Signor, but aside from suffering damage to his body, he didn't lose his life. However, the pain left him yelling incessantly. After the two brushed by each other, Klein immediately abandoned the Sword of Lava. He took a step to his left and turned around, facing Admiral of Blood's back. He raised the iron black death knell on his opponent's head. Wow, I can't read. He didn't use lethal attacking. He directly pulled the trigger. Damn. With a bang, his body suddenly shook a little. This was because the spot he had stepped onto appeared to be a hole. Hence, death knell had slid downwards and the golden bullet had hit the side of Signor's neck. Blood tainted with a dark green tinge spewing. What the fuck did I say? Spewing? With a dark green tinge spewed out. Admiral Blood had lost nearly half his neck and he fell forward. He fainted, but he remained alive. How the fuck does he remain alive, dude? But he remained alive. Klein was just about to add another shot when the sky suddenly darkened. An arm suddenly reached out from the sky. The arm was 10 meters long, 30 feet long, and it had a black sticky surface with a strange protrusion. They were either skulls, erected eyeballs, or barbed tongues. The moment it appeared, it made the entire forest shake. What the fuck is going on, dude? It has to be Sua, right? Because this guy was even more like when Shang's name dropped Sua, he was like, "What the fuck?" It has to be Sua, right? The arms were 10 meters long and it had a black sticky surface with strange protrusions. There were either skulls, erected eyeballs, or barbed tongues. The moment it appeared, it made the entire forest shake. All the leaves withered as all the insects stiffened to their depths. It's just killing everything. All the beasts either fell paralyzed to the ground or they began biting themselves wildly, leaving their bodies bleeding. Klein's danger premonition reached its limit. He hurriedly closed his eyes, lunged forward, and did a roll. He grabbed Grizel's Charles and held it close to his chest. Close to his face. Dude, what the fuck? Haksua? Dude, what the fuck is this fight, dude? I'm fucking spitting. Haksua. He's like... The hand, Haksua. You just gotta the rose school of thought. You just gotta give Klein a little bit of that Haksua, you know? Shut the fuck up, dude. Let's keep reading, dude. I can't read if you're saying shit like that, dude. Spit on that thing. I can't read it because they're talking like that. Oh shit, dude. This fight is so crazy, dude. Yeah, good comedic interjection right there, dude. Add position damage to his attack, Haksua. Oh shit, chapter 729 Chaos. The entire I can't fucking read. The entire force was withered as though an entity that hit him with a Haksua. As an entity that was bringing about destruction to everything was about to descend. Wait, I'm trying to log in. Hold up. I'm trying to log in. I'm trying to keep it together, guys. Hold up. Just the shit, dude. I just gotta start reading chat for a sec. That shit is too funny. Holy shit. Just as the arm was about to fully extend, a thick bolt of silver lightning spot down from nowhere, illuminating the entire mountain. The sizzling sounds chained together as a cage only spoken of myths enclosed around the black sticky arm. Alright, we're good. We're back. Oh shit, my cheeks were getting a little sore. I was laughing a little too hard. Oh shit, absolute menace is coming in easy as hit by the laughing curse. Black sticky arm. Dark clouds quickly covered together in the sky, forming brows and a mouth as though a face was hidden within. And Bayham stated the huge commotion was noticed by Sea King John Coatman. He didn't hesitate to take action as he ordered the mandated pushers to activate the corresponding sealed artifacts. Renette's figure was forced out of the void, but her chaos. The thing of the undead universe? No, that's not it. Renette's figure was forced out of the void, but her complicated black dress didn't seem crumpled at all. She raised her left hand and two of the blonde-eyed heads flew back and landed on her severed neck. The remaining two continued engaging in combat with the black, swollen, and wrinkled infants. When the cut in her neck began to wriggle, the two corresponding cuts were connected. Her figure instantly burgeoned to the size of a Gothic castle. What the fuck? She's growing? To the size of a Gothic castle. Patterns, vines, and accessories appeared on the surface, interweaving into mysterious, sinister sight that couldn't be looked at. Klein closed his eyes tight as he placed Grisel's travels in front of his face. He's like, oh, I'm trying to be careful. He's injecting his spirituality into it, but he was unable to eliminate all the effects inflicted upon him. His body kept quivering as the granules kept protruding from his body, and only at that moment did he confirm that the side of the effects of using Death Knell was a fear of the dark. For the next 6 hours, he wouldn't suffer any more weakness. Thankfully, the weakness is just insurmountable, but it doesn't mean that I'm unable to resist for a short period of time. Klein desperately closed his eyes as tears kept rolling down his cheeks. He didn't spend time considering the problems regarding this because the situation had developed into extreme danger, but it was also very chaotic. The one that descended that seems to be stronger than Sea King, it's likely an angel, but his condition doesn't seem to particularly good as well. He didn't directly peer, and he instead used the spirit world to attack. Is it because he can't rush here in time and could only consider using this method? Thankfully, I received a warning from the orange light, otherwise the results of it would be unthinkable if the situation drags on. As Klein's thoughts flashed through his mind, his first reaction was to take this opportunity to flee and open up a safe distance. However, he knew that hastily retreating without any preparations was equally dangerous. If the Rose School of Thought's angel abandons the attack and retracts his arm, Sea King John Coatman will have what the fuck? They literally sent their angels and motives in enrolling himself in a pursuit effect. This is because he isn't facing a saint who can consider retaining. This way, simply relying on Miss Messenger. Oh man, my cheeks hurt, man. I laughed way too much. It started to hurt. This was simply relying on Miss Messenger Renette makes it difficult to stop this entity. I might be pursued again when the time comes. I have to add more trouble for him, making him temporarily unable to move. I'll take this opportunity to escape the waters where Blue Mountain Island is. As his thoughts churned, Klein follows his emerging plans, took out Grisel's travel, stuffed Death Note inside, and made a few rolls before arriving next to the iron cigar case. He stabbed it with his finger, removing the wall of spirituality and opening the case, and he threw tinder, which was corrupted by the true creator, and into the air, throwing the source of the danger. Right on the heels of that, Klein used Grisel's travels to shield the top of his head, opening his eyes, and took out the whistle. This wasn't his Zix copper whistle, but the numinous episcopate copper whistle, which he had obtained from a mystical enthusiast in Backland. Man, that whistle goes way back. It originated from a resurrected numinous episcopate member. Back then, Klein had made a divination about the copper whistle, and he received the revelation that sending a message would be extremely dangerous. At that moment, he decided to allow extreme danger to meet extreme danger so as to create an even more chaotic situation that benefited him. Hold up. That's why this chapter is called Chaos. This is going to be too chaotic now. Hold up. Now, he quickly put the copper whistle to his mouth and blew into it. Then he activated his spirit vision without daring to look up. A skull with 3 lifeless eyes emerged. Around it were black appending like tentacles. Ugh. Without any hesitation, Klein handed over a white feather left behind by the resurrected numinous episcopate member to the messenger. He didn't wait for the messenger to disappear, as he immediately bulged his muscles, swung his arm, and threw the copper whistle into the air where the source of danger was. With that done, he put away the iron cigar case, did another roll, and he bounced up as he rushed straight for the cliff. During this process, he kept his head down and kept changing locations. He didn't dare to look at the scene happening above him, nor did he dare to stay any longer. When he passed by the spot where Admiral Blood Sr. should have been lying unconscious, Klein's gaze suddenly froze. He was alarmed to find that he had vanished. In that chaotic situation, without any aid, the Wraith, who had suffered immense damage and was unable to maintain his spirit body stage, had vanished. Klein paused as he swept his gaze. He saw that ahead of him were a few drops of splendid dark red blood that corresponded with a dark green tint, and this region was where Grisel's travels had previously dropped. No way, a few drops of... Oh, it got on the book cover. No way, a few drops of Admiral Blood's blood dropped onto the book cover. This sucked him in. Klein frowned as he didn't think it was a good thing. He was afraid that the angel and saint of the Mother Tree of Desire had sent was able to gain the help of Admiral Blood from within Grisel's travels to pursue him. However, it was impossible for him to abandon the book. Without it, Klein didn't believe that he was lucky enough to dodge all the stray bullets and unknown shrapnel which could fall from the sky at any moment. Damn. I'll resolve this latent risk by entering with my spirit body after I escape. Now it's like there are too many problems going on right now. Hold up. He's like one at a time, dude. Like, I will deal with the book after. As a few thoughts rose up in his mind, Klein dipped the tip of his foot down as he ran. Lifting up the soil, which had Senior's blood on it, reached out and grabbed it in a handful. This was used to locate Admiral Blood later. Oh, to see if he's in the book. Tap, tap, tap. Oh, to see where he is in Grisel's travels. Klein ran into a mentoring manner, holding Grisel's travels over his head, making adjustments from time to time based on his premonition for danger. The book blocked the random bolts of lightning or the scattering rain of corroding rocks. As it shielded him from a terrifying gaze that was cast over it with the book, Klein successfully tore out of the lifeless force and came to the edge of the cliff. At this moment, the surroundings turned dark. It wasn't the kind of darkness before a storm, nor was it a result of the moonless or starless night. It was a dead silence emitted of the smell of rot, raving sounds out from varying distances at varying pitches, as though something seemed to be slowly breathing in the air. Klein, who was afraid of the dark, trembled. He didn't dare to look at what was happening above him. All he noticed was a few white feathers stained with yellowish oil spiraling down to the ground nearby when there was a flash of lightning. His right foot took a stride forward as he jumped off the cliff and plummeted straight down. He fell out of the darkness and could see the light. Then he dropped into a mouth that had been waiting for him for a long time. The mouth didn't have any teeth as it immediately closed and sank to the bottom of the sea. According to the agreement they had made previously, it was to head for a reef beyond Blue Mountain Island as quickly as possible. This was a gigantic undersea creature with 16 fins on its back. Wait, with 16 fins on its back is a bug? The strongest armor is a bug. Literally, dude. Knowledge. You see, not only is knowledge, like, figuratively the strongest thing in the world, like, not only is a book and knowledge metaphorically the strongest, it is also physically the strongest. In the darkness, Klein instinctively wished to huddle into a ball and helplessly tremble, but he barely repressed his emotions. It took out a priest of light beyond a characteristic he had prepared to deal with wraiths. He had obtained it through the glove, pursed his lips, emanated from the translucent stone-like objects as it drove away Klein's fear. He was just about to contemplate as if he should wait for the outcome, or if he should attempt something, when he suddenly felt the back of his palm become itchy. He hurriedly looked down and saw that the pores widened as they grew some fine white hair. These fine hair rapidly grew and looked like feathers. Klein immediately felt his entire body itch. The fellow that was attracted by his copper whistle was really very dangerous. Klein was rather experienced. He immediately stood up and took 4 steps counterclockwise while chanting an incantation in the undersea creature's mouth. His spare body once again tore through the grayish-white fog, which had endless ravings and roars as backlash green gases drilled out of his body. Returning to the place that looked like a giant's residence, Klein observed his spare body once again, and he discovered that it had returned to normal. There weren't any of the blackish-green gases, nor were there any white feathers. Phew, it's effective. He exhaled and immediately returned to the real world. With the illumination from the Priest of Light beyond her characteristics, Klein saw that the white feathers on the back of his hands remained. But he had lost the ability to continue growing. There were more or less signs in other parts of his body, but they weren't obvious. Yes, I should be able to resolve the remaining problems once Mr. Zik arrives. Klein heaved a sigh of relief and drew the crimson moon on his chest. I'm sorry. Before I zone out, what happened with his hands? Why did that happen with his hands? Was it because of the characteristic? Or what was that exactly? And that Mr. Zik would write quickly. I had tunnel vision for like 2 seconds. How the fuck did that happen to his hand? At this moment, Renette's figure appeared before him. Miss Messenger had 3 heads growing on her head. Well, it's because he used the whistle. Because of the guy that came with the copper whistle. Okay. I thought it was because of the characteristic. No, okay. It was because of the whistle. It was a direct result because of blowing into the whistle. Okay. At this moment, Renette's figure appeared before him. I said that wrong. Miss Messenger had 3 heads growing on her head. She has 3 heads growing on her head? While she held one in her hand. Compared to before, she appeared more lively. She's more lively after all this. She reached out with her left palm and grabbed Klein's shoulder, and she directly brought him into the spur world as they quickly traveled through it. Amidst brightly stacked colors, Klein felt somewhat dizzy before he returned to reality and realized that it was on a reef. Renette's forehead swept the area and said, "Already safe, remember to pay next time." With that, she vanished as though she had something more important to do. You could do that. I should have just gotten Miss Messenger to bring me away using such a method like in the first place, right? However, her present state doesn't seem to be that great either. This must be a state and a method she seldom uses. As Klein reflected over the matter, he placed the Priest of Light beyond her characteristic into the pocket, and he kept Grizel's travels outside. Just as he was about to size up his surroundings, the figure out of where he was, another arm reached out and grabbed his shoulder. Klein jumped in front as he hurriedly turned his head, only to discover, Mr. Zik had arrived. As Zik grabbed his shoulder and pulled him into the spirit world once again, they come back. They rapidly moved through the brightly stacked colors. Actually, I'm already safe. The corners of Klein's mouth twitched, but he didn't say those words. I'm actually already safe, bro. It's chill, dude. It's chill. I literally thought a Zik was going to show up during that whole fight where chaos meets chaos or whatever, and it gets all chaotic with the true creator shit. I thought he was going to appear at that moment and kind of help out, but he literally came after. Yo, the messenger, dude, she got hands, dude. She got hands. I'm genuinely impressed by his fucking messenger, man. She genuinely has fucking hands. That was fucking sick, dude. All right, well, we're gonna keep reading. Wait, so we'll change the music. I'm also lively after that. You guys said something earlier. Did I catch what? She got heads, you mean? She got heads. She got heads. The Beyonder from the numerous Episcopate is so strong that his battle had side effects on Klein as well. Oh, it gave him the side effects just by his presence alone. Do you remember when Kawatua cursed Klein, something similar happened to him now? When Kawatua cursed him, he was affected and then he recovered. Oh, so when we're in the face of any strong high sequence Beyonders, they can also indirectly affect you, right? Okay, just their lingering aura can affect you. My YouTube feed is so lame. I need my algorithm reset. Just put my videos on repeat mood. No, I'm kidding. All right, let's keep reading though. Let's keep reading. So much fucking happened. And thank you guys for all the new fan art. So you guys will see 2 new art pieces right there pop up right now. But chapter 730 is called Handling the Latent Risks. On a Mount Saturn, what are your thoughts on Suwa not being able to kill a sequence 5? Ming was afraid of getting kicked. No, he wasn't. No, he shouldn't be afraid. That was sick, dude. We love all fan art. I don't know. I thought Ming. I generally thought Suwa would be able to I feel like Suwa could kill a sequence 5. but I guess not. Depending on like that whole confrontation with like the roast, like I don't know, man. It's Louvre fire. I mean, it was fire. At the end of the day, it was still a firefight. I gotta sleep. Good night, guys. No, it's okay, OG. Hakusua the fraud. He definitely hit him with that thing, you know. Not a sequence 5 with a big though. Not a sequence 5 with that book. You can't kill one if you got that book. That book is like, that's really good. That was a really good armor. It was funny seeing him afraid of getting kicked, knowing exactly what I was about to post next. That was cool artwork, man. I also added the one you posted, dude. I also added that one. Chapter 730 is called Handling the Latent Risks. Oh my god, my thoughts are all over the place right now, dude. I will not tolerate any slander. We'll see about that. We'll see. We'll see how the Hakusua goes. Well, chapter 730 is called Handling the Latent Risk. On a mountain outside of Bayam City in the forest that has lost all its vitality because it was buried by a half-collapsed cliff, a tall, wow, I spoke way too close. A tall, stocky, middle-aged man with a deep blue hair was wearing a storm priest robe as he stared into the air and overlooked the target area. There was clear burning rage in his eyes. He was none other than the Church of Storm's Cardinal, Archbishop of the Roasted Sea, high-ranking deckhand of the Mandated Punchers. That's such a long title. Sea King John Copeman. At that moment, the battle from before was still fresh in Copeman's mind. He remembered how every participant in the battle retreated. The angel from the Rose School of Thought had used a particular method to transfer his powers over a great distance. After he failed to achieve his objectives, he rather easily brought away his heavily injured partner, and no one wanted him to stay. Aside from the strange monster that appeared out of nowhere, John Copeman remembered very vividly that when an angel retracted his arm, it had sparse white feathers on the black sticky arm. From the top of the skull and from the inside of the erect eye, they grew from an unimaginable spots. All of this was because the Rose School of Thought's angel was dodging the glove of the true creator's aura while using some of his strength to shatter what seemed like an ordinary copper whistle. Shortly after, the sinister and strange spirit world creature engaged in battle with an angel had voluntarily retreated into the depths of the spirit world, preventing John Copeman from pursuing it. The Aurora Order Saint, who had opened a door of teleportation, didn't participate in the battle. After observing the situation in puzzlement, he picked up the glove of the true creator's aura, and he opened the door to leave before the battle ended. The strange monster that was summoned because of the copper whistle didn't have a fixed form. He was likely the manifestation of death itself. He was like a mist that filled the surroundings but had many feathered with yellowish marks on it. His target was obvious, the angel of the Rose School of Thought. Before the latter escaped, he had also vanished. That's what... Yeah, it keeps saying because they picked up the glove. Is it Creeping Hunger? Or is it just like his other black glove that he picked up? Tinder? Oh, okay. Tinder was the black glove. Right. Tinder was the black glove, and then Tinder took on the corruption. Got it. Tinder took on the corruption from the true creator. Got it. I was like, wait, what the fuck is it? When the fuck did... Okay. From the area as though he was in pursuit of his target, but even John Copeman, who had taken a sealed artifact from city, rushed over. He still felt uneasy. It was suddenly jumping forward while on his long journey towards death. The only person without any godhood had fled the scene before John Copeman arrived, and he was nowhere to be found. However, John Copeman recognized him. He was an adventurer who had killed a Sequence 5 Desire Apostle, making him qualified to have his information placed on the Sea King's desk. Although this wasn't something that he needed to pay great attention to, John Copeman, who had experienced the Seafarer sequence, still remembered the relevant information. He cast his gaze towards the cliff and looked down at the crashing waves as he muttered a name, German Sparrow. Look at that fucking aura farming, dude. On an island in the unknown waters, Klein and the Zix figures were rapidly outlined on shore. Klein was just about to speak when his hat-wearing bronze-skinned Zix eyes suddenly turned dark, as though it was connected to a silent and dark world. He grabbed the air with his right hand, and all the undeveloped white feathers flew out and curled into a bundle, landing in his palm. With a gentle squeeze, all the strange feathers vanished as though they had turned into food for the silent world in his eyes. Mr. Zick was brought about by the numinous episcopate whistle. Klein first pointed out the matter before explaining in detail. The situation was somewhat pressing, and to make the situation even more chaotic, I blew the copper whistle and gave that feather to the messenger. Then a similar feeling from the underworld descended. I didn't stay, and I immediately left the area, but I still had these feathers on my body. Zik, with his soft facial features, nodded gently and said, I sensed it from afar. A Zik aura farming too. It's always, dude. They're always armor farming. Today is the day you almost caught Captain Gervin Sparrow. Today is the day you will remember that you almost caught Gervin Sparrow. It shouldn't be. I understood that reference. And then it explains why he was running, dude. It shouldn't be an ordinary high sequence banner. I suspect that it's a byproduct of the numinous Episcopate artificial death project. Is that so? So it succeeded. Dude, all this is making me want to rewatch the original Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy again. Is that so? So he succeeded in holding back the Rose School of Thought's angels. Klein thought and joy. Zik looked around and continued. I still have matters that required my attention. This might awake more of my memories. When all of this is done, I'll look for you again to claim that ring left behind by ancient death. I have a feeling that I might need to make a trip for the Berserk Sea or the southern continent. It's best if you head over to large cities like in Backland or Trier. In those places, the forces of the Rose School of Thought can be deployed are very limited. They wouldn't dare to act rashly, of course. It's best that you choose to place Pazu Island, where the major churches had their headquarters, but this will bring another type of danger. Azik's last sentence was a joke. Just like an ordinary lone gentleman, the experiences of his present life seemed to leave a deep impression on him. Regardless of the portion of the memories that he had recovered, he still showed clear signs of his old self. In situations regarding retained memories, the time span of decades shouldn't have much of an influence on the time span of a millennia. But from a state of complete memory loss, the 2 to 3 decades is enough to remold a person. After Mr. Zik completely recovered his memories with his many different lives results in him having different personalities. What a profound question. I'll let Miss Justice consider it later and seek advice from the psychology alchemists. As Klein was thinking, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief when he realized that Mr. Zik wasn't delving into why he had a conflict with the Rose School of Thought. Yeah, he's not even asking me on that question. Like you really don't want to know? He's like, nah, don't worry about it. I lost my place, maybe. Shit. Mr. Azik wasn't delving into why he had a conflict with the Rose School of Thought. Instead, he had, Mr. Zik, do you know anything of the Mother Tree of Desire? Azik shook his head. I didn't even know of her existence before you sent me the letter. So she's a fairly new existence? Yo, thank you, man. There's like 50 of you guys here. You didn't know the Mother Tree of Desire. Klein was taken aback when he switched to asking, then what about the chained god? Azik shook his head again as he switched with a smiling sigh. In ancient times, she or they might have other names. The plot thickens. That's right, Mr. Zik began the cycle of losing and finding his memories at the end of the 4th epoch. He kept wandering the northern continent while the Rose School of Thought was born in the early 5th epoch in the southern continent. Klein nodded and didn't ask further, and since Zik had matters which needed his attention, he gave a few words of advice before bringing him to traverse across the spirit world until he arrived at a particular beach of the northern continent's eastern shore. With Mr. Zik gone, Klein looked at the seawater that kept surging towards the shore. With a few seconds, he wasn't in a rush to head to the nearby city. Instead, he found an uninhabited cave, set up a small ritual, and created a wall of spirituality. He sacrificed creeping hunger, death knell, Azik's copper whistle, Grizel's travels, and the soil with Sinor's blood to the mysterious space above the gray fog. Then he walked 4 steps counterclockwise and entered the mysterious space. He took the seat which belonged to the fool, and he summoned a metal bottle. A metal bottle? As it was stored above the gray fog, the remnant blood in the tiny bottle didn't coagulate. After wearing his glove and stuffed the other items, Klein poured a few drops and smeared into Grizel's Travel's dark brown cover. Why doesn't a brand new story start right away from the beginning with the addition of new character? Klein looked at the book and didn't change its name as he suddenly felt puzzled. Before he had the time to think, his vision turned blur as though there were countless translucent creatures hidden around him. Everything soon turned clear, and Klein found himself sitting on a long wooden chair along the street. This was where he had departed from previously. There's a saving function. Klein joked like he can just save like when you save a game. There's a saving function. Klein joked inwardly. He took out the mud stained with Sinor's blood before snapping a tree branch in an attempt for divination. Following the results he received, he walked out of the city, entered a nearby forest, and found an unconscious Admiral of Blood beside a small stream. At that moment, only about 10 minutes had passed since the battle. The exaggerated wounds of Signor's neck, chest, and abdomen were contracting and appeared to have recovered significantly. Such a level of vitality was completely different from humans. In another 15 to 30 minutes, Admiral Bud would likely wake up, so we make him a marionette quickly. Klein quick saving? In another 15 minutes to 30 minutes, Admiral Blood would likely wake up. In another 1 to 2 hours, his mobility would restored. This was a zombie, a wraith. You have a chance of being rescued by your organization's angels and demigods, but your blood happened to splatter onto Grisel's travels, making you a prisoner of this book and giving me enough time to handle you. Of course, this made you avoid the stray attacks of the battle between demigods, preventing you from dying immediately. I have no idea if you call this good or bad luck. I feel like him being sent in was part of, like, whatever luck he had. Klein mumbled as he observed while grasping Defno in his hand and reaching out to Senor's neck and removing the necklace made of pure silver. Oh, that's what's giving him neck. But wasn't Senor supposed to be lucky? I feel like I think it was choosing the lesser unlucky, right? Like, would it be unlucky for him to die there, or would it be unlucky for? Oh no, would it be lucky if he died there? No. So whatever item he had probably viewed him being sent into the book lucky, right, and avoiding an attack, but just I feel like that's what it is. It chose the lesser unlucky. Let me find my place. Defno in his hand reached out to Senor, removing the necklace made of pure silver. The necklace had a pendant of the same color which resembled an ancient coin. Both sides were filled with mysterious patterns and relevant symbols, as well as words carved in ancient Hermes. You will be as unlucky as you are lucky now. Oh, two sides of a coin. Okay, for however lucky you are, you will also be unlucky. There you have it. There you have it. No wonder you guys told me to keep reading. You will be as unlucky as you are lucky now. This is a mythical item which raises Admiral Blood's luck. Unfortunately, even if a demigod can enhance my luck, so I doubt it can, I can still sell it for money, or I could ask Miss Messenger if I can use it to make a partial payment. Oh, because of it's technically a silver coin. Klein wasn't in a hurry to take the necklace as he placed it on the stone beside him. He was afraid that there was an unknown side effect that might affect the things he was about to do. Then Klein focused as he controlled Admiral Blood's spirit body. That's such a dangerous thing to use. For however lucky you are, you will be just as unlucky. Then Klein focused as he controlled Admiral Blood's spirit body thread. Oh shit, we got a new marionette. He wanted to make his first marionette, which was... That's so sick, dude. He wanted to make his first marionette, which he would use for an extended period of time so as to control the principles of a marionette. He's using an admiral to establish his principles as a marionette. That's crazy. His first marionette. Furthermore, no marionette was more convenient to bring around than a wraith. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, just about 10 seconds, Klein achieved initial control. Senor's spiritual intuition sensed danger as his body showed obvious signs of struggling, but he was unable to wake up due to his heavy injuries and sluggish thoughts. Time ticked by, and by the 4th minute, Klein didn't hide his sigh of relief. At that moment, Admiral Blood Sr. opened his eyes and rolled to his feet and faced him. With a harmonious series of actions, he pressed his chest and bowed. Good morning, sir. How may I be of service? I didn't think his marionette could speak. What? I thought it was gonna be I thought he was gonna turn him into like a genuine puppet, like the Antigonus puppet from like way back in the day. I thought it was gonna be like that, but no, he's like, he can actually speak to him and whatnot. All right, next chapter 731. All right, next chapter 731 is called Gains. We gained a lot. Illusionary black threads emitted out of Senor's body and entered Klein's hands. With every jolt in spirituality, it gave a different reaction. In fact, there was no need to use both hands when controlling spirit body threads. Klein was just accustomed to doing so as to give him a feeling like he was truly controlling a puppet. From the looks of it, other marionettists can discover each other's marionettes. Other marionettists can discover each other's marionettes. The senior's abnormality can't be hidden from their eyes, so I have to be very careful about it. Clank. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Others would be able to see it. Let me just make sure I have my timestamp. Yes. Clank concluded the problems he discovered, and he quickly turned his thoughts back onto Senor. This Admiral Blood was dead. His spirit body had become a vessel for the marionette, losing any traits that belonged to him. Therefore, many divination methods were ineffective against him. Of course, methods to seek his corpse were still effective. Klein planned on cleansing the wraith and the gray fog before using paper angels to envelop the mirror-like objects that he had possessed before placing him into a cigar case that was sealed by a wall of spirituality. Along with a Zig's copper whistle, this created a 3-layered interference effect. This way, Klein believed that even if the Rose School of Thought's angel wished to, it was impossible to use divination to lock onto his position via Admiral Blood. As for whether the Mother Tree of Desire had left any backdoors in Signor's body, he wasn't too worried. Just because if that really happened, she could have mutated Signor's body during the Demigod Battle Royale in order to deal with him. Based on the situation back then, there was a guaranteed chance of success. Is there any fan art on that whole fucking fight? Like, I need to, like, read. I'm telling you, reading is one thing, but I also want to be able to, like, it's hard to visualize, like, all the intricacies in that fight. Like, so much was happening. I feel like artwork will help me a lot right now. Mother Tree of Desire, should I say, the chain god strictly controls its organization's members. Wait, Mother Tree of Desire, or should I say, the chain god strictly controls its organization members. It relies on the vow contract and other methods that are ingrained into the soul This can be inferred from Miss Sharon's descriptions and my interactions with the corresponding characteristics. As long as I don't attempt to use Admiral Blood to divine the secrets of the Rose School of Thought or the potion form of the mutant pathway, I wouldn't trigger any problems. The werewolf beyond her characteristics has remained normal despite being above the gray fog for so long. Besides, there's still the gray fog cleansing process, so if there are any latent problems, it should be washed out. Klein thought for a while and took out a Zig's copper whistle from inside his body. He turned his right wrist and made the side with fewer patterns appear under the sunlight, making a reflected light. Immediately, the copper whistle had Signor's figures appear on it as it rapidly turned clear. The Admiral Blood in front of Klein suddenly vanished as a result. Perhaps the Mother Tree of Desire can use the vow contract and other methods to vaguely lock on, but that doesn't matter. She can sense the Gray Fog's unique traits on me anyway, and she will sense me once I'm within range. Besides, this marionette might be destroyed at any time when I use it as a shield. Klein was like a jobless tramp who was debt-laden. He felt that there was almost nothing he was afraid of. Of course, he really was debt-ridden. As long as I advance to a demigod and can hide my unique traits, it's fine losing marionettes. Klein surveyed the area as he bent his back to pick up the silver necklace. He took 4 steps counterclockwise while chanting the incantation softly. This time he hadn't entered via summoning his spirit body, so he couldn't directly return. The grayish-white fog quickly emanated as hysterical ravings and roars echoed for eternity. Zig's copper whistle didn't react abnormally, which he meant that there weren't any latent problems with Admiral Blood. Sitting at the end of the bronze table, Klein placed Zig's copper whistle in front of him, making Signor, who was dressed in a dark red coat and old triangular hat, appear. He was like a butler awaiting orders from his master. "Do you have any other items on you?" Klein asked, as though Admiral Blood was still alive. What would he take? Dude, there's like over 60 of you guys here. Oh my god, thank you. This was his attempt to act as a marionette. Following that, he controlled Signor, made him rummage through every pocket, and subsequently took out... And he got money out of this? He took out 325 pounds, 16 soldi, and 8 pence in cash. There were also 13 gold coins. Alright, and he's getting more gold coins. Apart from that, perhaps due to his frequent act of transforming into a rave state, Signor didn't carry anything else on him. How poor. As a pirate admiral, you don't even have a single mystical item. Did you hand it over to the Rose School of Thought or your subordinates? Klein seriously considered cashing out Admiral Blood via the back market. Just in loan alone, he was worth 40,000 pounds. I think it'd be more worth it if he turned him in. His worth was 42,000 pounds. Yes, claiming the bounty from loans isn't pragmatic, but as the Church of Storms and the Kingdom's military, they will follow the clues to Captain Gribbetsbro, who managed to embroil so many demigods in a battle royale. And wait, let me read this again. Be it the Church of Storms and the Kingdom's military, they will follow the clues to capture Gurman Sparrow, who managed to embroil so many demigods in a battle royale, and to investigate the organization backing him. They wouldn't even pay, and they might even plant a trap. By the same logic, the church and governments of other countries must have similar ideas. However, they might be easier to work with. Retrieving the bounty will require substantial risks. Besides, there's no rush. I'll send Signor out when I plan on switching marionettes. After all, being a marionette for a few days won't change his identity or value. Klein reined in his thoughts and cast his gaze on the silver necklace with an ancient coin attached to it. He immediately used divination to gain the gist of its origin and usage. It came from a Sequence 5 winner. Winner? Sequence 5 winner from the Life School of Thought. Sequence 5 winner? Did we know that? Sequence 5 winner from the Life School of Thought after dying at the hands of the Rose School of Thought demigod. This gentleman's bionic characteristics and psyche fused with an ordinary silver necklace that he carried with him, turning into a mystical item. As for the reason why the ordinary silver necklace would be carried by Sequence 5 powerhouse for extended periods of time, okay. Will's pathway? Oh, it wasn't the lucky. Yeah, it's winner. Sorry, I remember the old translation I thought was the lucky. I thought it was Monster Sequence 5 Lucky, but no, it's winner. I think Romero corrected me like a few streams ago. Like, no, it's not the lucky, it's winner. Got it. Don't know sequence. Wait, I don't know if I. Sequence 7 is lucky, sequence 5 is winner. Thank you. That's what I had mixed up. Because I had 5 and 7 both the lucky, but it's like, no, it's only one. Got it. By the same logic, the church. Wait. By the same logic, the church and the governments of other countries must have similar ideas. However, they might be easier to work with. Retrieving the bounty will require substantial risks. Besides, there is no rush. I'll send Senor out when I plan on switching marionettes. After all, being a marionette for a few days won't change his identity or value. Klein reined in his thoughts and cast his gaze on the silver necklace with an ancient coin attached to it. He immediately used divination to gain the gist of its Orson's usage. It came from a Sequence 5 winner from the Lie School of Thought. After dying at the hands of the Rose School of Thought demigod, this gentleman beyond her characteristic and psyche fused with an ordinary silver necklace that he carried with him, turning into a mystical item. It's crazy how they just make items like that, dude. And like how they just like form and fuse together, you know? As for the reason why the ordinary silver necklace would be carried out by a Sequence 5 powerhouse for extended periods of time, Klein was unable to receive any effective revelations from it, as it had been too long and it had been corrupted. The mystical item had two uses. One was to passively make the wearer lucky, and their daily lifestyle, the owner would encounter good things, easily succeed in whatever they did. When suffering a lethal blow or terrifying disaster, ridiculous scenes would happen, allowing him to be successfully rescued. The latter situation only lasted for 10 minutes. The second use was to actively give an enemy bad luck, making the target unlucky. Be in a daily life from combat, it was easy for them to experience failure due to some trivial problem. The corresponding negative effects of the necklace was a conservation of luck. After being lucky, they would immediately meet with repeated bad luck. They would be as unlucky as they were lucky before, and needed the wearer to be devoted and seriously avoid any danger. Otherwise, it was very easy for them to die in a comedic manner and even harm the people around. I felt like it was kind of comedic. I was like, oh, you got sucked into the book. Oh, shit. So it wasn't too dangerous. Lost my place. However, such bad luck was slowly... Wait. Comedic manner and even harm people around them. The luck received in one's daily life would often revert back after a month. After a month? The user would end up unlucky regardless of whether they wore it or not. However, such bad luck was slowly released, and so it wasn't too dangerous. I feel like this is still too dangerous. I'm about to go to a casino with that shit for like 10 minutes, and then I'm out. But I feel like because of how unlucky I am, I'd probably like lose it all right away. And luck obtained in combat would similarly strike back 10 minutes later in similar vigor. Overall, this is a rather good mystical item, but I don't have much use for it. After all, I feel like he could really use this. After all, Fate Counselor Ricciardo was unable to change my luck, huh? I'll just wear it on me for now. Oh, because he can't... Oh, it wouldn't even be able to affect him. Oh, this wouldn't even be able to affect him. I'll just wear it on me for now. As few negative effects on me, I'll sell it if there's a chance to pay off my debt with Miss Messenger. Miss Messenger wants gold coins. While I have gold coins, I'll nearly be possible to exchange 10,000 gold coins through the banks or official markets. From the looks of it, I'll have to do it in batches, getting each Tarot Club member to change some of it. Klein soon decided on the plan as he casually came up with a name for its necklace, Scales of Luck. I feel like eventually Klein is going to get really lucky with this. Maybe? Following that, he cast his gaze onto Sinor, who was standing reverently to his side. He began to study the powers of a wraith he had. Forceful possession, enemy control, wraith shriek, mirror... Damn, what the fuck? He has all this shit? Following that, he cast his gaze onto Sinor. He was standing reverently to his side. He began to study the powers of a wraith. Let me lower the volume down a bit. And I'll raise it right here a bit more. So he has Forceful Possession, Wraith, Enemy Control, Wraith Shriek, Mirror Blink, Obstacle Penetration, death-related spells, and invisibility that wouldn't be discovered by most mid and low sequence beyonders. Klein distinguished each other, and he matched them with Sharon's and Merrick's descriptions, as well as the experience gained from combat. Sharon has all this too? Yeah, because she was also a Wraith. No, I remember that. Which is crazy, because that means... If Sharon wanted to, she could have been like Admiral level if she went out at sea, right? But I know sequence doesn't necessarily reflect combat experience, but she will still go to combat. He soon concluded this, afraid that the candle in the outside world would finish burning, and the dark cave was extremely bad for the present him who had a phobia of the dark. Klein immediately took out a paper figurine from the junk pile. Yeah, like he's too scared of the dark, so it'd be bad. Klein immediately took out a paper figurine from the junk pile, and together with a black ember card, he stirred some of the powers above the gray fog, turned it into anti-divination angel. This angel rapidly spread its wings and wrapped around a gold coin. On its reflective side was Sonor's figure. Then Klein brought the gold coin, the Zix copper whistle, deaf knell, and he has so much shit on him, dude. Then Klein brought the gold coin, a Zix copper whistle, deaf knell, and his suitcase back to the real world. As for creeping hunger and Grisel's travels, one of them hadn't been fed, and the other might cause Klein to be swallowed into the book for carrying it for too long. Therefore, they were left in the junk pile above the gray fog. Having returned to the cave, Klein hurriedly placed the gold coin and Zix copper whistle into a cigar case before sealing it with a wall of spirituality. He cleaned up the scene, switched into a formal clothes, and carried his suitcase. He followed the beach until he came to the residential area. He discovered that he was near Prince Harbor. Wait, hold up. The music is getting a little too hype. Let me change it. He didn't immediately return to Backland. Instead, he changed his appearance, took a steam locomotive, and headed for Connaught City and Desi Bay. He planned on circling around the area once before changing his identity again. Now I wonder who he's going to be. Bansi Harbor, Oliver Wilson looked at the destroyed city under the afternoon sun. He saw the buildings had completely collapsed and there were deep chasms in the ground and charred spots everywhere. Such a scene extended into the depths of the island. Even the mountain had collapsed. The mountain had collapsed? She did almost lose to Rosalgo. That is true. Her thoughts were hampered and sluggish, and then that's when Klein did come in. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we'll see. Share my beloved. We'll see. At that moment, there wasn't... Maybe when she's a puppet, she'll be ready. At that moment, there wasn't anyone from the Church of Storms watching the ruins. Since there wasn't anything here, and the plans to rebuild the harbor wasn't brought forward at all, Olger jumped off the Blue Avenger and circled the ruins with his sailors, but they didn't discover anything of value. Let's go. He instructed with a staid attitude. He soon boarded the ship, which hoisted its sails and left the islands. After an unknown period of time, a figure suddenly walked out from the depths of the ruin. He wore a double-breasted blue, pure black cleric robe. He had dark golden hair, and his facial features were clear and distinct, like an ancient classical sculpture without any wrinkles. His eyes were dark, nearing black. They looked lustrous, but they were filled with dense blood capillaries. I found one art, and it's not the best. No, it's okay. Okay, we'll take a look at it then right now. Who the fuck is this? For a second, I thought it was Ince Zunguil with the hair, but I'm like, no, maybe not. Wait, so is this the last chapter, Volume 3? Destination? Already? We're already at the end? We made it, brothers and sisters. Chapter 732. The ending of Volume 3. 732. Destination. Volume 3 Traveler. Easy Geeky Secret Farmer of the Mysteries. Speaking of Farmers of the Mysteries, we're going to watch a Cuttlefish interview after this. Desi County, Connaught City, 67 Red Indus Street. Wearing a calmly seen face in a lone kingdom, Klein took a step forward and rang the doorbell. Wearing a calmly seen face in a lone kingdom, Klein took a step forward and rang the doorbell. In less than a minute, are we recording? Yes, we're recording. In less than a minute, the door creaked open as a maid servant looked out and asked her curiosity, "Good evening, who might you be looking for?" "I'm here to find Ma'am Nilu. I'm a friend of her father, Davy Raymond." Klein answered calmly. Get the calm music? I think this kind of fits. Davy Raymond was a nightmare who he had released from creeping hunger. It was a red glove from the Nighthawks and the first thing on his mind before he dissipated with his daughter, Nilu Raymond, who was very apologetic towards her for not spending time with her while she grew up, making her effectively lose her father when she had already lost her mother. Klein had promised him that he would make a visit to that beautiful coastal city if it had the chance to visit his daughter. Having probed for more information earlier, Klein had gained a general idea about Nilu Raymond's situation. After this girl graduated from grammar school, she worked at the Women and the Children Care Foundation, which was run by the Church of the Evernight Goddess. She had a weekly salary of £2, 10 solely, and was a target of envy by her neighbors. She also inherited the inheritance from her businessman father. As for how much it was, no one knew. They just knew that she was richer than most people from the middle class. Typically speaking, women with such wealth would place great emphasis on their marriage. They were purely select and observe candidates, resulting in the late marriages. However, Nilu had married to a civil servant with just a year later. As both parties were believers of the Evernight Goddess, she didn't take on her husband's last name. She continued going by the name Nilu Raymond, and she continued staying in 67 Red Indus Street. Yo, what's up? Welcome back, dude. After hearing Klein's answer, the maidservant quickly requested him to wait as she entered the living room to repeat her mistress. Before long, a woman in a home dressed walked to the door. She had black hair and blue eyes. Her face was rather thin, and she was rather pretty. She resembled Davy Raymond. Good evening, sir. I'm Nilu, Dave Raymond's daughter. May I know when you got to know my father? Nilu Raymond asked politely but warily. Klein took off his hat and smiled. I got to know him at sea. It's been several years. Nilu Raymond swept him with a wary gaze and said, perhaps you might not know, but he has already passed away. Klein sighed and replied, yes, I know. I got to know him through that disaster. He had some words to say back then which I didn't think too much about. However, the more I thought about it in recent years, the more I felt like that I should inform you. Is that so? Nilu said softly. After some thought, she invited him in. Please come in. Would you mind if my husband listens in? This is up to you to decide, Klein frankly replied. Nilu nodded and led Klein into the study. Her husband had the looks of an ordinary civil servant with a gentleman's bearings. He put down his newspapers and followed them in. After both parties sat down, Klein looked at the couple on the sofa and delighted. Mr. Davy Raymond, I like how it's Davy, like Davy Jones, right? Look, I feel like he's still, giving little nods to all these pirate names. Mr. Davy Raymond once experienced disaster after another. He lost his father, mother, wife, brothers, and sisters. Nilu nodded with a deadpan expression. I know. Klein thought and continued. He appears to be a merchant, but he was in fact seeking out the murderers who caused this disaster. I know. Nilu didn't object to it. Klein glanced at her and continued. He dedicated himself to this matter, and he was very regretful that he didn't manage to spend the time with you growing up, making you lose your father alongside your mother. Nilu fell silent for a few seconds before she rapidly replied, I know. Klein swept his gaze to the old books around him and silently sighed. He said that his greatest wish was to see you enter the hall of marriage under the witness of the goddess, to have your own family and to not be lonely anymore. I believe he should be very happy right now. Nilu's gaze slowly moved away from Klein's face as she turned to gape, answering only 2 seconds later, I know. Damn. She's trying so hard not to cry. I'm trying so hard not to get emotional right here. Klein leaned forward slightly as he clasped his hands. He said that he might die at sea, and he wanted me to tell you that he died as a result of an accident. All the murderers from before have already been punished. You don't need to hate anyone. He also said that he loves you very much and that he's very sorry. Nilu remained silent for a few seconds. Damn, this shit got sad really quickly, dude. Nilu remained silent for a few seconds as she blinked. She turned her head to the side and scoffed with an unclear attitude. Got it. Klein gave her a deep look before getting, I'm done passing on the message. It's time I leave. Met with silence, Nilu's husband nodded gently as a gesture of thanks. Klein turned around, walked to the door of the study. Just as he twisted the doorknob, Nilu Raymond's voice sounded from behind him, deep and hoarse. What kind of person do you think he was? Klein fell silent for a second, turned his head, and curled his lips. He said with it. Shit, dude. That's a deep word, dude. That word hits hard, man. I'm trying so hard to hold it together. Say the fucking line easy. He said with a gentle smile, a guardian. He didn't stay any long. Fuck his shit, dude. It's such a hard word to say. He said with a smile, a guardian. He didn't stay any longer as he opened the door and walked to the coat rack. When he wore his hat, fuck, man. When he wore, fucking shit. Fuck, man, this shit hits. It came out of nowhere, man. It hit me like a truck. I thought I wasn't gonna get a little emotional this stream because like this shit is just so hype. Like German is just such a hype character, but I'm over here getting a little tear jerky, dude. He said with a smile, a guardian. He didn't stay any longer as he opened the door and walked to the coat rack. When he wore his hat and left 67 Red Industry soft, restrained sobbing suddenly drilled into his ears. Shaking his head silently, Klein left the borough and entered the cathedral of the Evernight Goddess. Damn, man. Passing through the dark and serene aisle, he sat in the 7th row from the back. Damn, he just goes to church. He faced the crimson half moon and the black sacred emblem filled with resplendent stars. He took off his hat, lowered his head. Dude, we're in church? Whoa, I gotta change the music. Yeah, hold up. Wait, that's true, that's true. Met with silence, Nilus, I fucking read this. Shit. Passing through the dark serene aisle, he sat in the 7th row from the back. He faced the crimson half moon and the black sacred emblem filled with the resplendent stars. He took off his hat, lowered his head, and held his hand to his mouth, just like the many believers present. While praying silently in silence and tranquility, time quickly passed. Klein slowly opened his eyes as he gently stood up. At the spot where he sat, he left behind an item wrapped in paper. Klein walked along the aisle and left the prayer hall, going straight to the cathedral's entrance. With his back facing the hall, he wore his hat, raised his right hand, snapped his fingers. Pa. The paper suddenly ignited when he sat up, garnering the priest's attention. When this gentleman rushed over, the flames had already extinguished, leaving behind a dark gem-like item. This is, although the priest... Wait, I don't even know what this is. This is, although the priest didn't know what the item was, his spiritual perception told him that it was very important. When he and the other priests rushed outside the cathedral, the gentleman in toga and half-top hat had already disappeared. The next morning, through a local black market, Klein had obtained a new identity, and he came to Steam Locomotive Station. He's already there? Okay, it was the... Oh, that makes sense. That's why he was there. It was the Nightmares Beyond a characteristic, so he left it behind for them. Okay, here we go. New identity, though, here. Through a local black market, Klein had obtained a new identity, and he came to the steam locomotive station. In his hand was a second-class ticket worth 18 solely, as well as the identification documents for him. He held a black leather suitcase as he stood at the platform with his back straight, awaiting arrival of the train head for Backland. The present him was a middle-aged man who was nearing his 40s. Damn! What the fuck? We're going age 30, like, we're what, like 38, 39, 40? Like, who are we? The present him was a middle-aged man who was nearing his 40s. He was slightly more than 180. What is 180 centimeters in inches? I actually don't know this. 180 centimeters tall, and his black hair had a few silver strands. Yo, what the fuck? Is Klein a DILF? Oh, he's 5'2". Oh, that's small. I thought he was tall. Wait, that's you, Unhinged. Wait, hold up. The present him was a... Wait. Had a few silver strands. His deep blue eyes were like a lake at night, and he was rather good looking. He gave off a mature and elegant vibes. Looking down at his identification documents, Klein's eyes reflected his present name, Dwayne Dantes? 6 feet? Oh. I thought he was 5'2". I'm not dissing on people that's 5'2", but I'm like... His... Dwayne Dantes. I'm saying his last name wrong. Dwayne what? Dwayne Dantes? I was going to say Danitz.
Looking down at the identification documents, Klein's eyes reflected his present name, Dwayne Dantes.
Dwayne Dantes. After some thought, he placed his suitcase on the ground, laid it open, and opened it before stuffing all his identification documents inside. Inside the suitcase, there was a black wooden box containing the former lone soldier from Zero Edwards' ashes. Oh, because he was going to take him back. Moments after arranging his suitcase, he heard a whistle. A steam train chugged into the station, spewing smoke before the slowly down to a halt. He looked up and cast his gaze forward as he examined it in silence. Then he looked down at his suitcase and whispered, "It's time to return." He then stood straight up, carried his belongings, and walked to the open carriage door. Backland, Sherwood Borough, 26 Gunstead Street. We're gonna end it with fucking them again. Benson took off his hat, removed his coat, and handed it to the maid servant. He looked at his sister, Melissa, who was glued to her book in the living room. The entrance examinations are in June. You'll finally experience the pain of studiously studying that I endured back then. Melissa didn't look up as she continued reading. I'm studiously studying every day. A little humor, Melissa, a little humor. With a different... Oh, she's slowly healing a little, right? A little humor. With the difference between a person without humor and a curly-haired baboon, I almost said badoon, Benson said with a smile. Melissa casually glanced at him and said, "That wasn't what you said in the past." She didn't correct him on what the exact difference was between humans and curly-haired baboons, and she instead said, "Do civil servants also finish work so late?" "No, there's been a lot of work recently, as you know." "Oh, you don't." In such a reform, the handing over of work and the straightening out of different relationships are very troublesome. Benson swept the mirror in the living room. He couldn't help but lift his hand to comb his hair as he said with a look of displeasure, "Although I'm only a low-ranking employee of the Ministry of Finances, that doesn't stop me from having plenty of work. The only thing to be happy about is I finally survived the darn probationary period, so I'll soon have a weekly salary of £3. Let's fucking go, dude. Melissa put down... He fucking made it, dude. Melissa put down her book and she walked to the dining room hall and said to Benson, "It's dinner time." She paused as That's still sad, dude. Melissa... I wonder where, like... Cuttlefish is gonna take their characters, man. Like I wonder where the series is heading with Benson and Melissa. She paused and said very seriously, I read in the papers that there's something called Doningsma. How do I pronounce it? Doningsma tree sap that has a significant effect on boosting hair growth. What?
She paused and said very seriously,
There's
I read in the
something-
papers that there's something called Donningsman tree sap.
Donningsman? This vocabulary is so hard. Tree sap that has a significant effect on a boosting hair growth. Benson's face immediately had mixed expressions. Whoosh. Oh shit, this is the last page. We made it. Amidst the whistle, the long steam locomotives chugged in backland. Klein picked up his suitcase and once again stepped into the captain of the capitals and land of hope. He discovered that their smog had thinned significantly and there wasn't the obvious palish yellow colors. The gas street lamps on the platform were already turned on, dispersing the gloominess and darkness. Surveying the area, Klein walked out of the steam locomotive station, took the metro and a carriage, and came to a Church of the Storm cemetery outside Westboro. Then he spent a little bit of money and placed Frontier Edward's ash into a partition. By then, the lone soldier had already left Backland for more than 165 years. After taking a step back, Klein observed it for a moment before using a pen and paper to engrave something on the partition door. Frontier Edwards. He closed his eyes and added, every journey has its destination. End of the 3rd volume, Traveler. Damn, dude. All right, let's check the artwork, man. Damn, dude. Every journey has its destination. What a good volume, dude. What a good volume, man. That was so good. Holy shit, man. We actually did it. We reading more today? Probably not. But that was so good, dude. That was such a good volume. We fucking did it. You can check the artwork for the art plus general for volume afterward, but let me see. Damn, start here? Okay, start here. Let me see. Oh. Oh, this is sick. Let me see. Let me turn this on. Look at that. Sorry, the aspect ratio is a little off and I feel like I'm cropped out. Look at this. This is amazing. So wait, this is Klein? That's Klein? Dang, look at this dude. He's fucking all dripped out. What the heck? This is Klein. Holy shit. This is such a change from all his characters so far. Whoa. This is so different. Look at Klein, dude. He's so different now. Wait, no, not this one. That's crazy cool, dude. Let me see. General? Like, I don't even know where to start. I think in general... Oh, is this the... This is author afterward. Oh, these are author notes. Oh, okay. Okay. So this is... Those are the author notes. Got it. Wait, hold up. Before I read the author notes, I don't know where to start for volume 3. Like, so much happened in this volume. The stakes were so much higher than volume 1 and 2. And after, like, sitting on volume 2 for so long now, I kind of start to prefer volume 2 a little bit more than volume 1. And then the majority of volume 3 was so much more action-packed and, like, aura-inducing. Like, German Sparrow, like, so much about, like, Klein's new persona as German Sparrow was so goated. It was so good. He was so, like... merciless. Well, that's not even a word. Like, he was so cunning, right? Like, everything about German's, like, persona was just so good, intimidating, scary. And, like, I loved volume 3 so... It is a word? Okay, it was a word. Whew. Like, I loved Volume 3 so much more than, like, 2 and 1, just because of how action-y and, like how different it was. But I don't know if I would put 3's ending over 2. Hold up. In Volume 2, we went up against Ints, Meteorites, Trissy's Revelation, going through the tunnels, running away from Mr. A, running into that fucking 0017 angel that would like unphase everything, but whenever she came in contact with Klein, she would like smile, and then there's so many questions. This one in Volume 3, that whole final fight with all these fucking demigods and angels appearing and like having like a demigod royale was just so wild. In my opinion, Volume 3 as a whole is great, but its ending is one of the weakest of the book. Okay. So I think I wouldn't say it's weak. I wouldn't say the ending is weak, but the majority of Volume 3, yes, was great. But that whole final fight with that like demigod battle royale was fucking hype and exciting, yes. I think 2 is starting to grow on me more, man. It's crazy. Someone said that. Someone left a pretty long, lengthy comment. How in China, they, 2 is viewed very fondly. And I'm like, shit, like, yeah, so much happened with all the faceless people that die, the Great Smog. Not as emotional. The other endings past are genuinely crazy and peak. Should end after the giant never retreats. That would have been a crazy finale. If we ended at Grizel's travels. And like, we mix in that whole final fight. 2-1 gets better the more you read. I think I'm starting to see that sentiment. I almost said something else. I think I am starting to see the sentiment or how like 2 grows on you the more you like unironically let it digest. Volume 4 ending speak. All right, man. I know. This Volume 3 was a really good ending. I like how like every travel has its destination, or every journey has its destination. That was a damn fucking good quote. I like out of nowhere, I got really emotional when I read that one line where he was a guardian, and then he just leaves the fucking nightmare characteristic right there in the church. That was it. It was really good. And I don't know where Cuttlefish is setting up Benson and Melissa. And then we had that whole revelation where like Klein is like theorizing like, am I a chosen? Like, am I a reincarnation? Am I like the sun? Or like there's all these things like relating to Klein, like on who he is, that Klein that Zoe Minguri hasn't figured out yet. That I'm like, how the fuck does Benson and Melissa tie into this? Like, if they have the same blood that flows through Klein's blood, like, will that make them acquaintances? In, like, the greater whole of this whole apocalyptic shit that's about to go down? Oh, wait, you unsent a message. I was about to read it. No, it's okay if it was a spoiler, Gabriel. One of my favorite endings is 4. Damn, you guys are saying 4 is getting good. But you guys were right, man. Volume 3 had a lot of crazy fights. Melissa and Benson are becoming... Oh, hold up. Angel's next volume. Trust, bro? I'll trust. Next volume, they're probably going to skip a few sequences like the Sea God Calvatua. I hope not. I really hope that doesn't happen, because that'd be kind of scary. But damn, man, that was such a fucking good volume. Holy shit. Nothing but praise. I love how different every series is. I mean, I love how different every volume is. Now I'm excited to see where Volume 4 goes. I think that's... Volume 4 is mid. You should just drop... Dude, imagine I just go radio silent and then you guys never hear from me again. Damn, that'd be so mean. No, we're not gonna do that. Knock on wood. Knock on good. We stay lucky and we don't become unlucky and run into an accident and then we never upload again. It's pure literature. It's cinema. I'm ready. I bet Volume 4 will be your favorite. Okay. Big reveal next volume. All right. Wait. Keep it vague. DBO. Oh, wait, hold up. I don't want to know what big reveals 4 and 8 are peak. I assume 4 is the halfway. The only thing I know is people did say 4 is kind of short. Now Volume 4 is peak cinema. All right, I'm ready. I'm excited. So okay, so now I've heard mixed things. Some people say 4 is kind of different because it's slower. All right, be careful. Yeah, wait, hold up. Yeah, hold up. Yeah, what D said. Well, let's be careful with the glazing. Let's be careful with the glazing, because I did hear at least one person say, like, oh, it's kind of mixed or whatever, but it's short, so you should just jump straight into it. Well, just so we know, Volume 4 starts with a return. So I assume it starts with a return of our new Dilfified Klein. We did say we were gonna have a Volume 3 discussion sometime this week, Haley. Yeah, we're probably, if not tomorrow, maybe somewhere between tomorrow and Friday, we'll have a discussion. Yeah, we did say sometime this week where we're gonna have a discussion on Volume 3. But it's not mixed, it's peak. Bet. I'm ready. I think we should end it there. And we save the reader notes. Love to see it. I don't know if we should save the reader notes for next stream. That way I have some time just to like think on Volume 3 before we read it. I don't know. Wait, after the anime drops to farm it to... Hey, we're going to be watching all the episodes, man. I know the second week might be slow. Sure, no problem. I feel like I shouldn't read the author notes just yet. I just want to sit on this volume for a little bit. Like, what are you talking about? Volume 4 is 200... It's 200 chapters. Bro, someone told me it was like one... Oh, someone told me Volume 4 was one of the shortest volumes. Oh, shit, that's long. Really? Oh, some people were telling me 4 and 5 were pretty short. It's not that short. Damn. Okay, it's another long one. All right. I guess we're going to have to lock in. Damn, that's going to take us into like the 900s, bro. That is crazy. Yeah, it's not short. Oh, yeah, it's definitely not short. All right, man. We're going to keep streaming because I do want to watch one interview with Cuttlefish. But I think we are going to leave that Volume 3 react right there. The grind. Money reveal next volume. Mommy reveal next volume. I'm ready. Nah, it's 60 chaps. Imagine it's 60 chaps. All right, guys. If you like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Thank you to like the 57 plus of you guys here that are with us right now. It was a fun read through. I'm surprised we read that much. You know, all I had to do was lock in, right? All I had to do was lock in and we would read that much. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. If you guys are looking forward to never change, never change. If you guys are looking forward to the Dunkwood reacts, more LOTM videos, and hopefully different manhwa and web novel reacts when we have the adequate time to do these, it should be fun. So if you also like to plausibly see different series reactions, you know where to come. And the occasional gaming stream when I take a break or something. Make sure you tune in. All right, guys. Peace. Have a beautiful day. And wait, quickly, if I were to rank it, shit, man. If I were to rank volumes 2 and 3, I think 2 and 3, I think they're at the same. I feel like it's 2 and 3 are like neck and neck, and 1 is like, it's not that far down there, but it's like a little bit under there. By YouTube. Your jacket fell off your chair. Oh shit. All right, later, guys. Peace. And have a beautiful day. It's gonna be an amazing week. We're gonna get 2 fucking Dunkwood episodes. So if you'd like to see that, you guys know where to come in. All right, later, guys.